Okay.
This is Drop and Drop Out, the weekly podcast where a mix of gamers come together to talk all about video games. I'm your host, Patrick, and dropping in this week, my favorite member of Dido, of course, Blaster Goblin. It is Blaster Goblin week here at Drop In, Drop Out. How we doing, Blaster Goblin?
I'm doing fantastic. Besides the fact that Jerica's here, because we are currently in a public beef.
Sure, yeah.
But obviously, as we definitely all talked about before this started, we're putting the beef aside for this and acting like we like each other for the remainder of this podcast.
Very brave of you. I also do want to clarify, Blaster Goblin's not actually a Drop and Drop Out. That's a joke against Kayla, because I always say Kayla is my favorite member of Drop and Drop Out, and I just was being a silly, goofy guy. But Kayla is here on the pod tonight. Kayla, welcome in. How are we doing?
Hello, I'm doing swell. I'm so honored to be on content with Blaster Goblin for the first time, though I do refuse to call him his government name, which redacted.
Steve.
But I will continue to call him BGQ. I think that's what I'm going to go with.
BGQ is good. You never forget your first piece of content with Blaster Goblin. I know I haven't yet. But Jerica joining us.
I did not know where you were going with that.
Yeah? what were you thinking?
I don't know. I was like, you know where my mind's at. Hey, I'm doing awesome.
Yeah?
I'm in a little silly Billy Jilly mood tonight, you know?
Ooh, what are you drinking there?
Because I'm having espresso.
Oh.
Yes.
I thought that was a candle.
Fancy.
It was giving candle, wasn't it?
It does. It is like a little cup or a little glass jar thing, and I got a piece of wood around it to like keep my hands from getting burnt from the hot coffee.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm doing great.
I'm so glad to hear that, Jerica. We're here tonight to talk about Resident Evil. We're doing a Resident Evil retrospective, which is why we brought on Blaster Goblin. But this is also Blaster Goblin week at Drop and Drop Out. Now, was it just kind of a bit? Yes. But I'm doubling down, and I want to do weeks in the future again. But to do some very quick housekeeping, last night over on Spotlight Games, myself and Blaster Goblin started the Resident Evil 6 co-op campaign. I'm Leon. He's Helena. We're going to beat the game at some point. Are we going to beat it next week? No, because we are making very slow progress. But then he is a Resident Evil expert, at least in our lives. So we're like, we got to talk about the whole franchise with the Goblin himself. So Blaster Goblin, thanks for being here. But in case someone listening, watching, just feeling the energy of this podcast has no idea who you are you, Blaster Goblin?
God, I wish I knew. I look in the mirror every night and I just go, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm a clown on the internet, and that is kind of my whole role. I've been trying to figure out for like 4 years now how to describe what I do, and I do not have an explanation for it.
Sure.
I make content on the internet.
And you
can find all of it at blastergoblin.com.
Whoa.
Which just conveniently also sells t-shirts.
How about that? Ooh. I didn't know you had a .com. This is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Me
too.
It's great. I didn't know you had t-shirts.
I need to change this right now. I do need a shirt to rip up and burn.
Oh,
man!
Maybe I'll wear it.
I had a killer bit lined up where I was gonna wear a clicker-bait shirt and then cover Jerica's face, and I looked for like a solid 10 minutes, couldn't find it, so I just gave up.
Damn. Well, there's the bit. That's it.
I wish
self-promotion.
I do wish that you had looped me on this, because I happen to be wearing my clicker-bait shirt, and I could have chosen a side live on content.
You can right now. I'm sure you got painter's tape somewhere.
Not within reach.
You got a sticky note? Anything you can cover her face with.
I have a napkin, unused.
That works.
I have a check. I have a light bulb.
If you just give the napkin like a little lick, and it might stick.
I also have this Gengar chain, but not big enough to cover Jerica, I fear.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk about Resident Evil.
Doesn't Jake have a matching one?
He has Shadow the Hedgehog to my Gengar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're here to talk about Resident Evil. We're going to go through the franchise, share our thoughts, our dreams, our likes, our dislikes, what we played, what we haven't played, and see where the conversation takes us. Because if you're unaware, if you're listening to this podcast, I bet you aren't unaware. But in case you are unaware, fucking hell. Resident Evil Requiem drops at the very end of this month, coming to basically every platform now, and we are very, very excited. The first numbered entry since I believe it is 2022. The biggest gap for a Resident Evil game in a very long time, which we can cover later. But yeah, so we want to talk about it kind of before the internet does, because we kind of expect there are going to be a lot of Resident Evil conversations over the next week and a half going into Requiem. And so you get to tell all your friends when they're like, go check out this podcast. They're talking about Resident Evil. You'd be like, oh, I already did this at Drop In, Drop Out with Blaster Goblin. So because you are the expert, BG, we got KG, we got BG. Jerica, I think you might need to be Jerica Ganna tonight to also be JG. How do you feel
Yeah,
about
I'm
that?
down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very
Blaster
reluctantly
Goblin.
down.
Oh, I'm down. Tell us at a high level what you like about Resident Evil, your history with the franchise, the first one you played, perhaps. Just open us up. Give us a little Resident Evil to start us off.
Boy, where do I begin to open Resident Evil? God, do we want to start with the first one? Because my first one, technically my first experience, first video game I ever saw with these child eyeballs, Resident Evil 2.
Ooh, okay.
Whoa.
And had no idea what it was for the longest time. And then found Resident Evil 4, my first and honestly my only true love. And later went back to Resident Evil 2 because I was like, I like this guy with the bowl cut, so I'll play the other one he's in.
Sure.
And I was like, this is not the same thing at all. And I returned it immediately to the person I borrowed it from. And then went back to it later in high school, and I was like, oh, this is the game with the police station that I saw with my child eyeballs. And I was like, video games look cool. And then played a bunch of Digimon. I can tell you the first thing about Digimon now as an adult. That's a brief summary of a lot of history of Resident Evil. And it's just always been around.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It has been, I mean, the first one came out when, I don't know exactly how old you are, but 96 was the first one, which is a good long time ago.
The first one came out, what was it, January 96? I was born in November of 96, so just shortly before. Me and Resident Evil born the same year.
Wow. How about that?
Wow.
Fuck, I'm old. I hate it.
Synergy.
That's not true. I am 19 years old. I keep forgetting that. I mess up my age all the
19.
time.
Oh, right.
He's a baby goblin. He
Mhm.
doesn't know any better. When I
Aw.
knew you were, obviously, like, I don't know how old you are, Blaster Goblin, but when I heard Digimon, I'm like, was it just Digimon, or at least did you like supplement Pokemon, like the Trumon in there, or is it just Digimon?
Pokemon came much later. Digimon was in my life before Pokemon. At least
Respect
the
it,
games
Digimon
wise.
first. Okay.
I know I was
interesting.
watching like the Pokemon anime, but notoriously also anime hater. So this is really not tracking well for me in my history.
Interesting.
But yeah, Digimon games
Interesting.
came well before the Pokemon ones.
Add that to your shit list for
Ooh.
him. She's looking
I
for
didn't
it.
have it. I'm gonna grab it later and just keep adding to it.
I was a Yu-Gi-Oh girly.
Oh.
Actually. Mm-hmm.
I watched some of the show, but I never played the card game.
Very good.
I need to pull the car over. I did a bad job hosting. I forgot to go through.
What?
I introduced Blaster Goblin and talked about Blaster Goblin Week, but I didn't talk about the rest of Drop In, Drop Out. And it was asked of me before the show. It was asked of me during the pre-show. And I was so locked in to share this, and I still didn't.
Don't take all the blame, because like we're taking this car and we're also like we're the little kids in the passenger seat, literally doing it right now. So
That's
I'll
so
be a
true.
good co-host.
I am spilling a bucket of goldfish crackers back here.
Well, yeah, you are.
Oh no.
A couple other things that I do want to plug. I'm going to pull to the B-roll scene. We're in the works of the very first Cognitive Clips essay on Drop In, Drop Out. Title pending. We don't know that we're going to call it nonlinear storytelling. However, it is going to be a video essay covering nonlinear storytelling in games with the release of today's prologue for Neva. Myself and Cognitive Clips co-producing this first video essay for Drop In, Drop Out. As you'll, I think, start to figure out this year with Drop In Drop Out. We want to do a lot more cohesion of things, and this is kind of the one of the first steps of that. So very excited for that. In fact, once we're done talking about Resident Evil, I need to go play the fucking prologue of Neva so I know what what opinions I need to have. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Ideally, we don't have a launch date yet, but ideally it will be within the next 5 or 6 days that this will go live on Drop In Drop Out. So keep an eye on our socials, dropindropoutpod.com. Follow us everywhere so that you know when this is going to go live. But yeah, we're working on that, which is very exciting. WCOG, W Video Essays, and W all of you for supporting the channel. And then also tomorrow, as she sits back down and puts those headphones in, tomorrow, our own Jerica Hanna going to be on Kind of Funny Games Daily to talk about whatever, some sort of layoff, some sort of, she'll probably be talking about Blue Point's closure
Blue
tomorrow.
Point, yeah.
So have fun with that. That'll be a real
I feel like I always hop
lifter
in
upper.
when, or we just have closures all the time, you know? That might be it. I feel like every time I hop on, something's closing down.
Sure.
Yeah.
So make sure you, if you don't follow Kind of Funny Games on Twitch, YouTube, etc., follow them now so that tomorrow when they go live, you can see our own Jerica Hanna, maybe wearing a Drop In Drop Out shirt, who knows, on to show off the everything that we're doing here.
There's a lot of pressure for me to wear a Drop In Drop Out shirt. Why can't I just like show up in my pasties? You know? God damn, that's what I had planned. Y'all
If
are just like,
you're-
oh, I'm like, well,
Here's the thing. If you're willing to show up on their show in pasties, I will give you $200 US because that will be a conversation starter.
you're so close to the point where I would do it.
$250.
Doesn't take much.
$250.
201. That's
250.
right rules.
I bet Chad will get
Oh
in
my
on
God,
this.
that's
We
so
can
funny.
get to 300 with a little help from the chat. And then next week, so earlier this week on Monday, we over JK Games J and K of JK Games covered part 1 of Reanimal, and they're going to give their full review and talk about the rest of that game on Monday over on twitch.tv/JK Games Podcast. Kayla, because we haven't heard from you in a minute, do you want to talk about Reanimal at all here more than what I just said?
I will say Little Nightmares. You should definitely play it because it has a lot of similarities. Did I freak out for a second?
You froze for
Am
a
I
second.
back?
You were making
Okay.
this face. It was very good.
If you
She got
enjoy- if you enjoy-
reanimalized?
We reanimalized, I think.
There's something
It's
there.
hard to say.
If you enjoy Little Nightmares, the vibe of Little Nightmares, but you've wanted something a little bit creepier or scarier or more intense, then this is definitely your vibe. If you did not like Little Nightmares, you're not going to necessarily like this. If that wasn't your cup of tea, I don't necessarily think this would be your cup of tea, but it is mine because I love Little Nightmares. So very curious to see what my co-host, because we don't tell each other beforehand what we think about the game. Curious how everyone's going to review it, but also, as always, you can join our Discord, which is our group network Drop In Drop Out Discord, to join in on the discussion. We have a JK Games section, we have a Spotlight section, we have a everything section, and you can see all the promo. You can promo your own stuff if you're a creator in there. So yeah, very excited to talk more about it.
Are you just casually unveiling your WWDD notebook, Jerica? What would Dolly
Yes,
do?
this is all I have in here is notes on why Blaster Goblin sucks, and I'm adding another one. Just wanted y'all to know.
Doesn't like anime.
Fucking got
If you
him.
want to,
Yep.
looking at the wrong document this entire show until just now when I realized it, go ahead, because I was like, "Where is this information at?"
That's so
And then realized
funny.
I was looking at a completely different document unrelated to this.
That's
Well, that's
so
great
good.
because we haven't
Also had
talked
things
about.
Resident Evil in it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Also, I realized it's not actually showing, so I must have done something wrong. Ooh, there we go. I need to click start. As of right now, this very second, we're announcing the Song Battle Jamboree. You can officially start putting your points into that. 250,000 channel points to throw into the pot to do something that we already told you we were going to do. But now we're making you pay for it with channel points. So yeah, once we hit that, that is going to be the next Jamboree because we didn't get to do it on at the in-person stream together extravaganza bonanza. So throw them points in. so that we can do a little song battle jamboree on the channel. I do think that is all the housekeeping I was supposed to do. And I do think we can now get back to the show and ask Jerica, what is your meet cute with Resident Evil? What was the first game you played? What do you think about the franchise as a whole?
So my technically I played Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube. That was my first time Resident Evils. And I can't remember when that came out. And I still think I was just like, I don't like to try new types of games. Like, I don't like, at the time, fixed camera angles and like weird ways of aiming the gun just
Sure.
always threw me off. You know, like it was just so weird. I'm like, oh, this is sort of hard. The game was hard for
Yeah.
me at the time. So, but I love the ambiance and the zombies and everything. Like I love scary games, and I did even then. It's just like I just didn't like how the game felt, and I put it down. And then you skip ahead a little bit. I played 5, funny enough, just because it was just a new video game, and
Sure.
I was like, let me try this one. Maybe this is fun. Hated it. Didn't like that at all. That also felt like garbage. So it's not looking good for Resident Evil in my life. Fast forward of years and years later, and that's when I saw gameplay of Resident Evil Biohazard, Resident Evil 7, and I was like, oh shit, this is cool. I like first person. I feel like I can aim a little bit easier if it's in first person. I don't know. And this is so creepy because I loves the incorrect word. Hillbillies. I enjoy a story, not love hillbillies myself. I enjoy
Hillbillies is not the
horror.
noun I was waiting for you to say when you were trying to find the word to go after love. I was like, what is the word? Hillbillies.
I know what's hillbilly. I don't love
That's so funny.
hillbillies, but I love hillbillies and like, you know, what's that other scary movie with like Hills Have Eyes, that
Oh,
kind
sure.
of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah, yeah.
I love that
Oh,
shit so
yeah.
much.
Hill people.
I mean, it's why me and Caitman get along. I feel like he
Yes.
also just loves to digest the same weird shit.
Oh, for
Gross
sure.
shit is
Yeah.
I
like
mean,
me.
he is
Very
quite
true.
literally a hill person these days up in the mountains.
Yeah, you know. So I fell in love again with Resident Evil. I love the fact. Did I say it again?
No, sorry, no. High School Weekly just said Blaster Goblin wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy, which is famously written by JD fans.
God bless America. Seriously.
Pre-show content.
A pre-show callback from High School Weekly, which is very
Yes.
good.
Man, I pre-washed off my eyeliner and everything before we started. I'm
Damn.
still getting it.
Damn it.
I've never thought that, and
But
I
yeah.
still don't think that, but I just think it's very funny that now that's a thing, and High School Weekly just burned the shit out of you for it.
That's so good.
High School
Join the
Weekly
club.
occasionally has some burners, and like
He
More
does.
than
watch out.
occasionally,
He's
I
like
would say.
he's a snake in the grass though.
Yeah.
Like you don't see it coming, and it just like bites you, and then you're in the hospital and you're dead.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
where was I? Resident Evil 7. I
Mhm.
fell
Yeah.
back in love with, or I didn't fall back in love. I was never in love to begin with it, but it made me care about Resident Evil. So whatever redo they did it good, and they got this gamer as a hardcore fan. I went back and played a lot of the other ones after that.
I love that.
Nice.
Kayla, how about you?
I'm a famously late adopter to the Resident Evil series.
played
I
one.
was pretty young when the first one came out, aka -1-year-old. So I also wasn't really into horror games until a little bit later in life, like as a more adult gamer is when I got really into horror. And actually, funny enough, I think Jerica is the whole reason I started playing Resident Evil at all. Because Jerica loves these games, and like when we started doing JK Games, she kind of like was talking about it, wanted to cover it, and I of course wanted to cover it with her. And I was like, I do love horror games. Why have I never gotten into this franchise before? Same with Silent Hill, also late adopter to that. So me and Jerica were like amidst all of like in our JK games, like talking about games newly era. And so Resident Evil 8 was coming out, Village. And Jericho was really excited about it. And I said, oh, I really want to play that too. And so Jericho was like, well, you need to play 7 first, because we believe it's like a direct sequel So you should play 7 first. And then my completionist mind was like, well, I can't play 7 until I play all the other ones. And I ended up scratching that because I didn't have enough time. So my first Resident Evil was 7, Biohazard. So I started with that and I loved it. Everything about it I found fascinating. And then so I played 7 and then played 8. And then just kind of went from there with the remakes that I've been catching up on. And I've played 4 and 2. So I have thoughts on all of that, but that's kind of like my origin story, if you will. Definitely still
Yeah.
behind, but
Sure.
I loved everything I've played.
Fun
so.
fact that Kayla helped me remember. I don't even do we have that like we played or I watched you play?
Yes.
Is that on YouTube?
It is
I
on
don't know.
YouTube.
Good.
I play Chirica backseat game played with
I was
me
high
while I
in the sky and terrified. Should find that video. That's really funny. Is that a song? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember
We
doing
do
that
have that.
and struggling with a lock. And I was like, this is content.
Yeah.
That
that's my origin.
Resident Evil retrospective you did is actually my connection to JK Games. That's the first thing I ever saw of yours. Was that
Jesus.
that
No,
big,
that was
long
the first
retrospective.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
How
so
about
Wow, it's all
that?
coming full
funny.
circle.
That's how
I
you
was
said that because
coming back. It's all coming
working away
back
building
to
copiers
me
in a warehouse listening to you
now.
guys talk about Resident Evil.
wow, that's
There
so
were
sweet.
moments
And
of gold. Sorry.
so that means that's technically your Dido introduction too, is through that. So that's really cool.
Mhm.
I love that.
I love
Full
that so much.
circle. Wow.
I have a kind of a similar trajectory in ways to all of you, except Kayla, I guess. So all of you, Jerica and Blaster Goblin, best friends.
Mhm.
And that I played like the back in the day. Really my first real memory with the franchise is the Resident Evil remake in 2002 on the GameCube. That I was a bit too young to play, but I would watch my brother play it. And I think I've told this story on content before where we would, summertime, we're in the basement, we have this like shitty but bigger TV. And it's like me and my other brother and him and a friend just like reading through the game facts wiki of like, you have to go back to the room on the second floor, west corridor or whatever while he played the game. And we were like blaring Hoobastank over the game for whatever reason. But that was like my introduction to the franchise. And then it would be like, let's play 4 when it comes out, 5, 6. And then, so I didn't play the originals other than Resident Evil Remake, but I didn't play the PS2, PS1 versions of the OG games. And then 6 came out. And like most people on the internet, I didn't love it. And so I was like, Resident Evil was fun when it was fun, but not really anymore. And then, a few years later when they show off 7, I'm like, ooh, is Resident Evil back in a very big way? But I never loved the first person. I'm getting ahead of myself. But it was the Resident Evil 2 remake in 2019 that really got its fucking hooks in me and became like, now I'm like a Resident Evil sicko and like all I want is more Resident Evil games and remakes, and I'm now replaying the RE1 remake again, so a bit kind of all over the place in that way, but yeah, the beginning it definitely was the GameCube remake for me, for the first one. Let's just go through oh yeah, go ahead Jerica.
Yeah, I was like thinking back, like I think that is a really, even though there is and we might get into it tonight, I think we do a little bit, but like the story as a whole is it's not as complex as Kingdom Hearts. I like to compare to that because it's got some wonky, just like situations happening
For sure
all over the Resident Evil lore, and I usually have to do like a quick little recap before jumping into a new game. But I do like the fact that like no matter where you sort of pick up in the franchise, like you can have an incredible experience. To which I read a comment that someone posted earlier, Patrick shared in our Discord, and we had Cog write in, Jordan, said that his cousins played the original, doesn't remember, he remembers watching some of it, but there are monsters, blah, blah, what is it? Weird reptile monsters. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as hands-on, played Code Veronica, which I've never played.
Same.
And also rolled credits on Resident Evil 4, the original as well as the remake.
Nice. Yeah, so a similar trajectory there. And Friendship in the chat saying, once again, Patrick and I have very similar paths, the yin to my yang. You better watch out, Davey. Davey James, you better watch out, brother.
How dare you? Don't you dare.
Don't I dare. Resident Evil 1, 1996, originally released on the PlayStation 1. Set in the fictional Arklay Mountains region in the Midwest, players control Chris Redfield and Joe Valentine, members of the elite Task Force Stars, who must escape a mansion infested with zombies and other monsters. Some history about Resident Evil 1, and we're not going to do this for every game, but I thought this was interesting. It was conceived by Takuro Fujiwara, inspired by the limitations of his 1989 horror game Sweet Home from 1989. It was directed by Shinji Mikami, and it went through several redesigns, first as an NES or a Super NES game. I didn't know this. In 1993,
Oh.
and then they went fully 3D first-person PlayStation game in 1994, and then finally a third-person game that Mikami did. So ultimately, it got to Resident Evil 1 in 1996 with the third-person game. And then, yeah, blah, blah, blah. We know this about how the game works. But Resident Evil is often cited as one of the greatest and most influential video games ever made. It's credited with defining the survival horror genre with returning zombies to popular culture, leading to a renewed interest in zombie films by the 2000s. It created a franchise including video games, films, comics, novels, and other merchandise. I also learned on the Wikipedia page there was a play in 2000 in Japan called Biohazard, which I would love to read the script for. But yeah, so that is where it all began. So Blaster Goblin, as the only one of us that really played the first one in 96 or, you know, later in life, talk to us a little bit about that OG Resident Evil 1 vibe.
Oh boy, what an interesting B movie of a game.
Sure.
Like, to go back to it at this point in time, it is comical to play. Like the voice lines in it when they talk, they'll like say a sentence and then there's a full minute pause before the person responds. It's like the peak of B movie quality. But it is just like it's dripping with ambiance when you walk in. The mansion is such like a beautiful setting. The pre-rendered backgrounds, I dream of those every
Sure,
night. I dream
sure.
of living in a house with pre-rendered background. Way nicer than these blue walls.
Yeah,
That's what I want. God, there's so many. I don't know where to go to start off with all the things I love about it.
sure.
It sets up so much for this series to like the inventory management system, the suspense of like the door load, using your loading screens as like a suspense thing. Incredible. Everything is so like well thought out with the quality of equipment they were working with. I adore Resident Evil 1.
The original on the PS1, have you played through that
Yes.
whole game?
Yes.
I was looking at the B-roll that we had up just a second ago. I don't think I've ever really touched the original, because man, that game looks tough to play. With like, I know the tank controls technically exist in the Resident Evil 1 remake on the GameCube and 0, but especially this one looks like such a fucking hard game to play.
As the games go on, they refine the tank controls and kind of give you some tools to work with it. This is the clunkiest thing to play.
Yeah.
It's like playing a game with a Rubik's Cube. Like you have like two motions and you just got to figure it out. That's really like I've always described that as being the horror part of Resident Evil, like the early Resident Evils. They're not really that scary. It's just scary that you're like, I can't shoot anything. I can't see where I'm aiming. I don't know where I'm going, and I'm just fumbling around in here like Velma looking for her glasses. Like you don't know what you're doing.
I don't know though. I do feel. I mean, granted, I'm only really referencing the remake in 2002 on the GameCube, but I do feel like the whole nighttime lightning striking, everything is dark. The dog jumping through. I guess. Well, is the dog jumping through the window the first one or the second one?
That is the first one.
That is the first one. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like
and they kind of
that's right. I feel like that is pretty horror forward, at least in the beginning. But that's like kind of just like as a general thing. One of my gripes with the franchise, if I can start dipping my toe into criticism, and then Kayla, I'd like to hear from you, is that it always starts as horror and then eventually, usually becomes like hyper action by the end of it. At least in its like later renditions. One, I don't know that one really gets to that point, but like 2 certainly does, where by the end of it, it feels like it's a bit more actiony than horror-y. But I do always prefer the first bit that is very horror-y compared to the later in the game. But Kayla, what's on your mind about Resident Evil?
I was gonna ask our Resident Evil professional Blaster Goblin, and really all of you. I know he is the one who's played this first one, but I'm very curious. Like, I have seen this series as a whole, from what I've played of it, really lean on the like looming presence that you can't kill, kind of being the scary thing like around the corner that you know is there, like as you're trying to solve the puzzles. Do you feel like this series has always kind of leaned into that as the horror aspect, or did this one do anything different with like more jump scares? Like, what do you feel like is kind of like the horror theme of the first one? Do you feel like it goes throughout the series, or what do you think?
So like you're referring to like Mr. X and
Yeah,
like that, like, and Jack walking around the house with a
right.
shovel.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is not really present in really any
Mm,
of the early Resident Evils, because even the original version of 2, Mr. X isn't like this free roaming creature. He's really all just like
mm,
scripted events. Like,
got it.
you walk into this room and then Mr. X is going to burst through the wall, and when you walk out of his zone, he's gone. And that's the same way for Nemesis. That really doesn't come back around until modern day.
Hmm, yeah.
So these are all like, it's all like ambiance is the scary part, you or like the turning zombie head that you see at the beginning. Like that
Sure.
kind of stuff is,
Yeah.
or jump scares. A lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
Especially
Okay.
2 is like super heavy on jump scares.
Well, I feel
Yeah.
like that's what they had to lean on at the time, just with what technical resources you had. And I think
Right.
for me, I am so thankful they took a chance on like for the cinematography for its time. I think it's a really smart way to present a game, even though it might feel and play like garbage. But I think it does, to y'all's points, like adds to the like you can't look around the corner sort of deal, and like that's scary, and the jump scares and all that. So I'm sure like if I would have played this when it actually was out, like I would have never slept because like even though it looks sort of like old now,
Sure.
that was probably pretty scary for its time.
We got a question from first time chatter Timao_0. If I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. I can barely read. But they say, I wonder why Capcom doesn't remake the first part, and the lack of content isn't an argument because there will be a remake of Silent Hill 1 question mark. It's
I'm
gotta be
interested. I
happening,
don't know
right?
that. Surely, but why didn't they start with the first one? Is like 2 such a beloved title? I actually don't know. I didn't know. I don't know
I
the
don't
answer to
think so.
that.
I feel like 1 is more beloved than 2
T 2 is
historically.
in the community of Resident Evil people, from what I know. 2 is like, that's the one that
Okay.
Mm.
perfected it.
Is it
Uh,
is it because Leon's
1,
in there? Is it just because
I
Was
think
Leon in the first one?
no, he was not. I think the reason they haven't
It's
done 1
Leon.
is because they have the GameCube remake, and they just kinda lean on that. It's like, "We have it," but there has been the rumor forever of, like, it's coming eventually. I
I
think they just
feel
Mm.
don't want us to walk around the mansion in, like, a 3D space.
sure.
It's
Yeah,
such
because
a
I'm
sacred area. They don't want us just wandering around in there,
right. Because
putting
yeah, I mean,
noob
I'm
mods or
playing the
whatever on your
remake.
game
Like I said
in
earlier,
that
I am
place.
playing the remake right now, and it looks like people aren't lying when they're like that game still holds up visually. Certainly, some character models don't look great, but just like the pre-rendered backgrounds and like the mansion is, it looks so much better than a 2002 mansion for sure. Granted, the one
Are
I'm
you playing
playing is the redux of that too, so it's
Okay, yeah,
gotten like
the
the
modern one.
1080p coat of paint or whatever. Um, but it certainly could be part of it. But I would be willing to bet a considerable amount of money that within 5, 6, 7 years, we have a Resident Evil 1 full remake in the style of 2, 3, 4, etc. Soon to be Code Veronica, if the rumors are to be believed. But David James in the chat, hot take: Resident Evil 1 doesn't need an over-the-shoulder version.
I can agree
You
with
know,
that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
that
Is it
remake is
fixed
fine.
camera? Is
yeah,
that how it is? Okay.
I would say like I would
So
agree with that statement. Now, like, as soon as you said, it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I just want it like remade, like in the same quality or the same kind of camera angles and everything, but just like look better and a little bit easier to control.
yeah.
Then I'd play
that's
it.
exactly what you get in the current version that's out.
Sure,
Because there
for
is a
real.
control type where you
Yeah.
just have full reign, you don't have tank controls. So
Oh.
it's modernized pretty well if you play that version.
There are still
Hmm.
times where I get turned around of like I'm holding down to come down the hallway, but I'm going forward, and then the camera changes and my finger loosens a little bit. So now holding down will make me go left because the camera has changed. But it's like, it's not a kind of thing that like would get in the way of me enjoying the time. It's just something that I need to like get used to as I play through it. But yeah, I mean, I could certainly fuck with a 2026 remake of a Resident Evil game that is still fixed cameras. I think that could be very cool. I just wonder if that wouldn't succeed, personally.
I think there's something to be said about, like, I know we talked about Reanimal a little bit earlier, but like Reanimal does something interesting where it's not necessarily fixed camera, but it is kind of like fixed POV a little bit. Like it will be
Yeah, like
it'll be
different
like a certain
areas.
yeah. It'll be like an angle on someone and then it'll like follow the character through like a certain period while you're still like walking. So it kind of has like a fixed camera feel with like a little bit more adaptive. So like they could iterate on it. I don't think
Sure.
they would probably, like, just to be honest, but I would kind of like to play it in its original form if I'm going to replay it.
Yeah. Do you think, Blaster Goblin, if we do get a remake of Code Veronica next, that, I mean, it'll be over the shoulder, right? Most likely.
It absolutely will.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you mentioned Code Veronica after that, because Code Veronica does the same kind of camera angles as Reanimal.
Interesting.
As what
Does
you're
it?
describing, where it's a fixed
Ooh,
camera
okay.
that follows, and we'll
That
get.
like kind of follows.
I'll dive more into that when we get to Code Veronica.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
But
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
Ahead of ourselves.
Well, let's jump to Resident Evil 2, released in 1998, originally on the PS1. This is our introduction to Leon. And also, I don't think Claire Redfield was in Resident Evil 1, but her brother Chris was. They must escape Raccoon City after citizens are transformed into zombies by a biological weapon 2 months after the events of the original Resident Evil. And this one certainly is more focused on exploration, puzzles, and of course, combat. The main difference from its predecessors are the branching paths, with each player character having unique storylines, partners, and obstacles. So yeah, this is of the games, the first one where you can choose, or that choosing the character changes the trajectory of the game. Because you can, in the first one, play as Chris or Jill, but this one, they are actually different storylines, which I always was very drawn to. I love when we get like multiple perspectives of the same story, and especially when they overlap, and it's like, oh, there was that like section where you run into Claire and then you play as Claire, and now you get to see the lead up to that, and then it's like, oh, I remember this point that they met, and now I get to go see what she does after, which
Last
I
was
also
part 2 coded.
Exactly, very Last of Us Part 2 coded. Blaster Goblin, anything to add on Resident Evil 2 that we haven't already included?
oh God, what isn't there to add?
So true.
All of these like OG games, I've got so much to say about.
Yeah. You're the
I
expert.
I agree with the state, like the sentiment of the Resident Evil community of this being like the peak of fixed camera Resident Evil. It is the setup is fantastic, like walking into the police station, the whole branching paths thing that was originally like a 2-disc system, like a Claire disc and a Leon disc. And they for some reason they somehow intertwine but never see each other in this building. But they're supposed to be wandering around. That whole system is fantastic. I like that there's actually somehow in a game that old they figured out a way to make it kind of like connect to each other. Like you can pick up items that Claire can't get later or Leon can't get later, the other way around, through like finding him that way. Mr. X is an incredible introduction to a game that really became a lot better as we got like, in the remakes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm like really focusing on the originals and not as much of the remakes, because I think we're kind of doing them both at the same time here. Am I right? I should have asked beforehand.
Yeah. Let's also talk about the remakes when we're talking about 2, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Okay. I also think when it goes to the original, like this is where they really like knocked down the Resident Evil formula. The like caution thing where you like, the more you get hurt, the slower you get, that started here. A lot of the item management stuff started here. Of like you're set with this like 4 blocks, and that's what you get for the game, and then you get your storage box and all that. I think the storage box is in the first one as well. But they did the side packs and stuff like that where you could upgrade your weapons, you can upgrade your cases. Oh boy. Mercenaries didn't start here. They started with the like after game content with like the Force Survivor, Tofu Survivor. Oh boy. And just the introduction of some of the most like incredible monsters. The Licker came
come
out
on.
in here.
Who up licking they
They
shit right
st-
now,
Oh my
dude?
god.
That was my middle
Yeah.
name
Bro.
in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And like I said earlier, they really start slamming you with the jump scares here. The walking past the window, the liquor crawls by, Mr. X, Kool-Aid Man through a wall, all of that.
So with the original,
Lots to say about it.
Mr. Goblin, because I've only played the remake, like I said earlier, of 2, and there are those scripted moments where Claire and Leon cross paths and like interact with each other. Does that not happen in the original? Was that an update for the remake to be more intentional about them actually being in the same space together throughout the game?
They still do that in the original. There's like a the like cutscene where they see each other, but for the most part, there's like not really much. I think they up it a little bit in the remake. I've not ever sat them side by side to like
Sure.
count and see,
Which is fucked up
but
that you haven't.
yeah, no, I really should honestly. Really a big bungle on my end. I'll be sure to fix that.
Bungle Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
That's what they call me.
It is.
I think it's
Yeah,
pretty cool. Like, what? Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead of you.
the biggest thing with that is just the scenarios that are like they do the different scenarios, and then like I mentioned, there's that it's like one section, but people always bring it up as being the thing where like you can pick up the side pack and the machine gun as Leon or Claire, and it won't be there for the other character, and then you could also take both, and then the other character can't have either. So you have to kind of decide in your first scenario what you want for your second scenario with the other player. It's a nice little like mixing of the two, but it's not any more or less, I don't think, than the remake.
Jerica had something, and then I have something after Jerica. I'll let Jerica go first.
Jerica.
Yeah,
Jerica, do you
like
remember what you
just
had?
even what you shared about like if Leon or Claire like picks up the gun, it's not there for the other one. I think it's so cool and like revolutionized like how actual story and gameplay can be innovated in a scary game. And High School Weekly actually added in here, and I think this makes a good connection. I think it's interesting that it can't be understated how much the first two Resident Evil games shaped the entire genre of survival horror. I think it's interesting that more modern ones embrace some of the campiness of the originals, are very self-aware about it. However, I don't think they were originally meant to be as campy as they are, which, for me, like I've enjoyed, like I guess I'm not jumping into a Resident Evil game for the story, but I always am. So I don't know. I sort of like Twin Peaks. I do like it occasionally. So I think that's why I gravitate to the story in Resident Evil, no matter what direction it takes. But I love that it started even early on with the first 2 games.
Yeah,
We went over
I
this last
love
night
it.
that I'm big into the wacky Resident Evil. That's the version
Yes.
of these games I want.
Yeah.
Same.
I love when it leans into it, and like I think that it makes it really is a great like parallel to maybe like what is like terrifying like happening in this world when you just have Leon like saying some stupid shit like just about his like arm that fell off again.
Sure.
No, that's Ethan that his
That is
arm
Ethan.
falls off, right? Yeah.
Leon
Sorry,
probably
God,
said
I
it
love
too, though,
Ethan.
at some point.
And then one question for Mr. Goblin from Davy James in the chat said, I need Blaster to explain the zapping system in Resident Evil 2.
Who up zapping me?
The zapping system.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest. I know the term, but I have no idea what he's asking me. It's just not ringing a bell.
Oh,
And
that's
I
okay.
thought in my head that's coming back as the Claire Leon thing, and maybe that's not.
Maybe that's what he meant.
I thought that's what that was called, but now that you've asked me, it's lost I've lost it.
I have
We add
only
that to the
played-
notes.
Yeah, I really bungling again.
That notebook is just like
I can't
it
handle
really
the number.
Know
surprises me
about
that Jerica
zapping.
I've only started the 2 remake. I have not gotten really like far enough into it to have much many thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But I will say like one question I think I already asked in someone's stream, but is it the same voice actor for Leon throughout the whole like series?
No.
Because okay, that makes sense. Because I will say like playing it backwards as someone who's like really kind of playing it backwards. I was a little surprised. I was like, wow, this sounds like totally different. But that makes sense that it's someone else. So
Yeah, last night in Resident Evil 6, it's Matthew Mercer's voice as Leon. I don't know how many people have voiced Leon over the years, if it's just 2 or if
Not
it's been
my
3 people.
I believe it's
sweet
3.
It's
Titanfall
3.
baby.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's the like fixed cam, then Mercer, and now the new guy with Nick.
Okay.
Nick something.
So was Mercer
Jealous.
Resident Evil
No.
4 as well then?
I believe so. Yes, I believe it was
Wow, how about
4 and
that?
6.
You know what I would love about Resident Evil 2 is a Resident Evil 1 remake style Resident Evil 2 remake of fixed camera still,
Mm.
but updated visuals, because I'm kind of really intrigued to play the original now after seeing some of that B-roll and just like talking about it in general. But I can really struggle sometimes with like that old of a video game and get like frustrated and not really want to actually get much further. So I don't know how successful a playthrough of that would be for me without some sort of quality of life improvements. Um, but I kind of want to go play it now because I love to. Like that was kind of my reinvigoration with the franchise in 2019 with the remake. And I played the Resident Evil 2 remake so many times back in 2019 and 2020. Because I also, one thing that I really love about Resident Evil that I don't think any of us have really directly said yet is typically, especially the older ones, are short. Like you can, especially when you know what you're doing, you can get through some of these campaigns in like 3 hours, which is like a very fun, like, oh, I've played through this, but now I have a goal of I'm gonna just try to go as fast as I can, or I'm gonna only use these kinds of weapons, or whatever it is. I'm gonna try to find these other things. And
Oh, you want to talk about that achievement list?
yeah,
With the runs they make you do, the like no health item run, the no knife run,
those are tough.
the under like 2-hour run. That was a wild platinum to get.
Yeah, the
That's
platinum I couldn't do.
insane.
Anytime a game wants me to beat it in a certain amount of time, unless that time is like so much higher than a trophy deserves, I am not gonna try to do it. Just not for me.
Jinx Hutchins said Resident Evil the short king of video games.
That's so true.
It's so funny.
And Friendship
Tracks.
says, getting to play RE2 Remake pretty much alongside you last month, Patrick, was a blast. Oh, you warmed my heart so.
Aw,
It was very fun.
fun.
Resident Evil 3, shall we dip our toes into Nemesis? Should we toe Nemesis, Jericho?
Do it.
Before we
I
do
would
that,
love to toe that.
can I touch on some remake things real quick?
Yeah,
I
please.
didn't mention.
Yeah.
The DLC that came out for the remakes.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
how much experience you have with them. Incredible, like what if storylines.
Yeah.
Where they
Big
take
fan.
all the characters that died and you gotta do like a little mission as them, and then the cop in the gas station that was
Yo, I
an
missed
absolute pain in
this.
the ass.
It's very good
What?
content for that game.
It's
Huh.
excellent.
I totally flew under my radar. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, they're all kind of like the Forced Survivor mode. The like like the tofu survivor, that thing. They're very similar to that, but
Hmm.
with characters that died in the game.
That's cool.
And then also, if anyone hasn't seen it, the Leon ending of Resident Evil 2, the original one, is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It is the 90s, like entirely just like in like 30 seconds. Like it's all right there. Leon just turns and said it's up to us to take down Umbrella, and then it cuts to the credits with like a wicked bass line. Coolest thing I've ever seen. And everyone should watch it when they're done with this.
Okay.
Now you can move on to 3.
I will go do that. Okay, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This came out in 1999 on the PlayStation 1 as well. Third game in the franchise. You play as Jill Valentine, who you could play as in Resident Evil 1. And it follows her escaping Raccoon City alongside the plot of Resident Evil 2. They're about at the same time. And then, yeah, it was in the same engine, pre-rendered backgrounds, etc., etc. And then this one also leaned more into choices throughout the game affecting how the story unfolds. And what ending you get, which is something that does connect Resident Evil with Silent Hill a little bit, of like choices involving the ending outcome essentially. But yeah, this one again, I only played the remake of. I never played the original. So Blaster Goblin, I kicked you again to start us off with
Okay.
Resident Evil 3.
Okay. I won't dive too much into nonsense there. I like Nemesis a lot because I'm a Resident Evil 5 fan, and this I consider it like it's the Resident Evil 5 of the OG trilogy.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
every trilogy gets a Resident Evil 5, and I think 9 might be our 5 for the current one. But this one had a lot of it's just all action stuff. It's fantastic. There's like a parry dodge you can do. You get the quick turn now. you're fighting a giant monster the entire time. Like Nemesis is scripted like X is in the original 2, so he's just like popping up for segments, and you can like fight him off to get extra items or run away from him. So they like really encourage you to fight, which is the opposite of Resident Evil normally. It's fantastic, the original, and I think the remake is like super underrated. People don't give that game the credit it deserves.
Yeah, I played the remakes as Jerica, and I remember really liking the remake, but for whatever reason, I have only played through it the one time for both campaigns. Because what's the name of the other guy? Blaster Goblin? Carlos. I've played both of the campaigns, but yeah, I've not gone back, and I want to now that I've been kind of burning through all these other Resident Evil games on stream over at Spotlight Games. But Jerica, we haven't heard from you in a minute on being on the sticks. You played the Resident Evil 3 remake, I believe, correct?
I did. I was hoping to get done with it before we got to this episode, but I didn't make it. But I've always shied away from that one. It's sort of, it's been out for a minute now, and I was like, I've played all the other games and both remakes, and why am I avoiding 3? Is it because I don't want to tow Nemesis? Is that the reason? Is that his name in here? I get all the big guys confused.
This is Nemesis. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't want to tow him. Well, it's not my favorite, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
If that can make sense. I like the idea of exploring the city is really cool, but I do miss being inside more, which I know you go inside of like shops and stuff, and I'm only like 3 to 4 hours in, so that might change throughout the game, but my first impression of it, like, cool, this is more Resident Evil. There is I like some of the mechanics in the remake, like sort of like avoiding and like almost like is it a soft dodge? Where you're like, ooh, psych.
Yeah.
What's that move in football? Juke.
A juke?
It's almost like you can juke. Is that a juke?
Yeah, we can say that's a juke for sure.
Juke-a-chew.
You can juke in that game.
Juke-a-chew is very
which
good.
Is neat. Was that the first time you could juke in a Resident Evil game? And I don't think you juke in the other ones after. I don't know.
No, even in the original, you can do the dodge in the original version of this, and then they take it out immediately after that.
How weird.
Well, it's very strange. Regardless, I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's cool. Yeah.
I've always been really fond of Jill as a protagonist, which is part of the reason why I want to also go back to play 3, because I like her a lot in the first game, and I feel like we don't get enough Jill, and I'm wondering, unless there's a story beat as to why we've not seen Jill in so long. Like, maybe she dies and I forgot or something, but I would love another Jill video game.
Where is Jill?
Yeah, where's Jill?
We're due for a Jill.
I got
the
a
thing
deal
I will
with
say
Jill.
about Resident Evil 3 is that it is the reason a lot of people don't like it, I think, is because it is a Resident Evil fans like ideal Resident Evil game. It's the one that like focuses deeply on the mechanics, the speed running. It does like the randomized items where you can do random.
That makes sense.
Even in the remake, you can do the randomized runs where it like swaps out all the the enemies, villains. What are the nonsense word to use there?
All the rogues.
The whole rogues gallery can just swap out with whoever while you're running through it. Crafting was introduced in this one for like your ammo and your herbs and stuff like that.
Shit.
Combining items. Was that here?
Yeah.
Like the combining the items. I love that.
When you were like doing the gunpowder thing came in here where you can, this cop for some reason knows how to make grenades. All that came in here.
That's awesome.
That's really funny.
We didn't even touch on. We'll get to it later, but like just puzzles.
I was gonna ask, has that been consistent?
Got puzzles.
Yeah,
I don't know, that could be a topic for later, but I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. It's the puzzles.
That's my favorite part
since the beginning. Yeah.
High School Rookie says Jill Stein. Where did she go? The chat has lost the plot, I fear.
Yeah. French Dip said, "Who up juking there, Jill?"
I mean, 1. Also, something that I think
that's all I did in that game
is interesting about the remake too is like behind the scenes stuff. I don't know that this has been officially reported on, but the very heavy rumor is that the remake of 2 was supposed to launch with the remake of 3 as one package, but it wasn't able to hit in 2019 and they really needed it for fiscal reasons. And so they cut it apart because Resident Evil 3 Remake came out pretty soon after the 2 Remake. It was like 6 or 7 months or something like that.
Yeah, it hit like day one of pandemic lockdown. And I remember it coming in the mail from Amazon. And I put it in and I was like, oh no, not all these people in like PPE. They got the full suit. This is not how I want to start this day.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Um,
Yikes.
but I do agree with you, Blaster Goblin, about how this game, I feel like, does get undeserved disrespect. Whereas so far in our 2.5 hours of 6 that we played last night, I wouldn't say that that's been undeserved so far in my experience. But 3, I do think people get more shit.
You know,
Yeah,
I
was gonna say, I just
definitely,
never
it's
see
not
it.
a bad game. It's fun. Like, I will keep playing it when there's not another new one right around the corner
For sure.
or nothing else to play, because I'll get back to it. It's fun to play. Like, it's more what I love about Resident Evil.
I do feel like there's a pretty loud, I mean, a corner of the internet in gaming that's loudly anti-something. It's shocking. But I do feel like there's a good, I hear a lot like, oh yeah, definitely play the 2 and 4 remake. You don't really need to play 3. And it's like, no, you should play 3. The 3 remake is very good. But I feel like it gets pushed aside.
Runs really well on PS5 Pro, just saying.
How about that?
Like, you can run in performance. You got the ray tracing. It's smooth as butter. You can
Smooth as
juke
butter.
and just slide,
I love that.
baby.
Jericho, our fidelity queen. We love.
That's me.
You can put anything in the RE engine and it's fantastic. Like, just if you just give me a picture of a cardboard box in the RE engine, that's going to entertain me for at least 6 hours.
Shit, I need to log in there. Can I get in the engine?
We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I want to bring in a comment from High School Weekly in the chat because I think it's very interesting. He says Resident Evil 7 was the Breath of the Wild to Resident Evil 6's Skyward Sword. Do we agree or disagree with this statement, Blaster Goblin?
I fully disagree because I don't know what that means.
Great. Which it's probably better to
Default
disagree with
disagree is
something
very
if you don't
good.
understand
Yeah.
it than agree with it if you don't understand it.
I
Absolutely.
could see that. I could sort of agree. I've never played 6. I've just heard what it was, and it sounds like a cool idea. But yeah.
It does
Very
feel
good.
like to me to actually answer the question. Because Skyward Sword also a game that gets a lot of hate for, I think, unfair reasons, even though there is a lot to improve in Skyward Sword compared to other Zelda games. But for that to be the last mainline one before we got Breath of the Wild, it's a pretty huge jump of quality from Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. So like just in that analogy, I think it makes sense. But also with 7, with the first person of it all, and really going from what Resident Evil 6 being like a hyper action franchise at that point to 7 being truly horror until the last bit of that game kind of reinvents itself in that way. So I see the point. And I do think I agree with High School Weekly in the chat with that point.
Gathering what I think this is meaning, if they don't have to be directly after each other, I think that statement is more true for 6 to 2 remake. Because 7 hit hard, but 2 remake is the one that everyone is like on board with. I don't think as many people are for Resident Evil 7 because it's such like a different thing, being all first person and like very strictly horror, where I think people really prefer the third person version.
I do. At the same time, though, I do feel like, so we got 6 in 2012, and then 2015 is when we got Revelations 2 on the 3DS, and then a light gun, tactical shooter spinoff of Umbrella Corps in 2016, and then 7 Biohazard in 2017. So there was a 5-year gap between 6 and 7, and I feel like by the end of year 4, people were like, well, I guess Resident Evil's dead. And then 7, I feel like, did reinvigorate it enough to get us to a 2 remake. So I feel like there is something there of like Resident Evil 7 kind of giving life back to the franchise. Even though even though it didn't quite fully materialize until 2 years later with the 2 remake. Because I remember so vividly when 7 was revealed being like, oh fuck, this looks like Resident Evil is Resident Evil fucking back, doggy dog. And in ways it was, in ways it wasn't.
Doggy dog.
But
Doggy dog.
come on, doggy dog. What you know about doggy dog? Anything else? I know we just kind of jumped all over the place with that, but anything
Yeah.
else with 3 before we burn through? Well, at least just one. The next one, Resident Evil Survivor. Who up knowing they Survivor?
I know the competitive TV show, not the
Yeah.
game actually.
Season
know
50
nothing about
Jake's
that.
still in here.
next
He
Wednesday.
loves the Survivor.
Me too.
I might tune in for that.
Oh, I
one.
didn't know that
In a
about you.
minute.
Yeah.
Huh.
So this one came out on the PS1 in 2000. 9/11, just around the corner. This is the first light gun shooter in the franchise. You play as an amnesiac protagonist struggling desperately against overwhelming odds to stay alive and uncover his identity. I think this is the first one that none of us played. Correct? Blaster Goblin?
I've played a little bit of Survivor.
Okay.
I have not
well,
played the second Survivor, Dead Aim.
Okay.
But I believe this one is not a light gun shooter. It's just a rail shooter. So it's controlled
sure.
with your controller,
Mm.
and the aiming is just it's ass.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't play well. I don't know why it got a sequel. It's not. There's nothing really fantastic or terrible to say about it. It's just it's a rail shooter, and that's all there is you can really say about Survivor.
Well, there you go. Later that year, also in 2000, Resident Evil Code Veronica. And this one I found some interesting lore about that I had no idea of. So this was originally released on the Dreamcast. And then Code Veronica X was released a year later on the PS2. It takes place 3 months after the events of Resident Evil 2 and the concurrent destruction of Raccoon City as seen in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. It follows Claire Redfield and her brother Chris in their efforts to survive a viral outbreak at a remote prison island in the Southern Ocean. You know, the classic Southern Ocean, and a research facility in Antarctica. The interesting fact is that Code Veronica only happened because Mikami learned that they weren't able to physically port RE2 to the Sega Saturn. Just like tech-wise, they were like, we want to bring this to a Sega platform, but we can't figure it out. RE2, there's just something about the tech that wasn't working. But they wanted to still release something as a Sega Resident Evil, so they just started on a new game, and Code Veronica was born, which I thought was very interesting, and I didn't know this. But again, this is the only one that you have played, or Blaster Goblin is the only one that has played this Code Veronica. So talk to us a little bit about what is, I feel like, low-key the most like cult classic of the Resident Evil games. I feel like there's a lot of people that really love Code Veronica, but more people haven't played it because it's a Dreamcast game.
I hear about
Code
this one a
Veronica's
lot.
for the freaks.
Yeah.
The freaks love Code Veronica, and I love Code Veronica.
That's funny.
A little more lore to that thing that you were talking about. With the whole Sega thing. This is Resident Evil 3. Like, this is the continuation of the story. And they were making this spin-off about just like a person in Raccoon City. And then they were like, oh, I guess we're gonna make Code Veronica this Dreamcast game. So we have to figure out something else to be 3. So they just shoved Jill into this other game and kind of tweaked it a bit. And that's why Resident Evil 3 is way, way different from your regular Resident Evil. But this one also way different.
How about that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like it is interesting because I feel like this one. I mean, would you still consider? And this is maybe a broader question. Would this still be considered like a mainline Resident Evil game, or is this more like a offshoot? Like is there a difference between like what you consider a like main Resident Evil game and a spinoff? And would that
I would
be
say this is the most important mainline Resident Evil game.
Wow. Okay. Got
this
it.
sets up the like rest of the trilogy from like the next trilogy that comes after.
Okay.
This is like such a pivotal Resident Evil game, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion on it being so wacky comes from, is that it's sold as a spinoff, but it is Resident Evil 3, like 100%.
I feel like a lot of people don't think that, though. I feel like a lot of people think of Code Veronica as this just like other thing that is just like kind of weird.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Like 5 can't exist without this game, because this is where they bring Wesker back from the dead, is in Code Veronica. He shows up, he suddenly has superpowers. Like, Code Veronica, you have to have this to make anything else work. at least in the Chris side of things, because they're kind of
Sure.
like running parallel, Chris and Leon doing different things. This,
And you
like we were
were,
talking earlier.
yeah.
Oh, continue before I
I was
start diving into more.
You know, I was going to ask. So earlier you were saying that this game has a bit of the different camera vibe than the other ones.
Perfect.
Do you know? Does that
You
have
teed
to
me
do
up.
with the hardware, or is that just like a creative choice? Do you know the story behind that?
So what they did this time is they did, as you're seeing in the B-roll, they did 3D backgrounds instead of pre-rendered in this one. So they kind of took a hit on the quality to have this with like this has dynamic lighting now where you can like pull out a lighter to like look through dark areas, and the camera move as you walk through it. And I think if I remember right, that is all because of the Dreamcast is the only reason that they were able to do that. And it doesn't look as good as those pre-rendered backgrounds, but I think it's like a much needed fix to this
Sure.
game to have a little more movement. It fixes a lot of the hitching. Like when you in the older ones, when you'd go between a camera, when that like scene change happens, there's always
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
pause, and then it's like a hiccup. They call it a hitch.
Does
And this fixes that entirely.
Code Veronica X have? So you were saying that the Dreamcast was unique with the way that they were doing lighting. Does the X version on PS2 look and feel a lot different, or were they able to by then a year later have it look a lot like the Dreamcast version? Do you know?
X is the exact same, except it has more cutscenes. It's got like a little bit longer cutscenes. So that's the definitive
Oh,
version that everyone
I
plays.
see.
It's just the extra cutscene version.
If so, Mad Exposure joining us for the chat. Welcome in. She asks, are we getting the Code Veronica remake this year? So we touched on this a little bit earlier, that it seems like most likely the next Resident Evil remake we're getting is Code Veronica with the different leaks and whatnot. But do we think that's a this year reveal and or release?
Oh, certainly. We may get a reveal, but I think it's certainly next year or the year after if they're going to do it.
I don't foresee them
Yeah.
doing 2 in the same year. Like, I feel like they would want it to have its like own moment, maybe. Like, so maybe it's a reveal this year and a release next year, perhaps.
Yeah,
As
I can
someone
see
who
it
knows
being
nothing.
a remake 2 to remake 3 situation where it's like a few like 7 months.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like this comes out in February and then it's out like January 1st. Is Code
Yeah.
Veronica. There's a possibility.
Yeah,
there.
we've not had 2 in 1 year since, if you count Resistance in 2020, which I guess
That's
technically you do.
That's a pack-in.
Yeah. Oh, it is a pack-in.
Technically. Yeah.
So then the last time we got 2 in 1 year would be 2012, which was RE6 and also Operation Raccoon City, which is also a very different game. So they historically they don't really release 2 like main entries in the same year. Typically one of them is like a very different thing, like a light gun game, rail shooter, whatever, etc. But 2027 does feel good for Code Veronica for me. But a reveal this year, that would be
I
great.
agree.
French Dip making a claim of Summer Game Fest reveal. That's enough time to let RE9 have its moment in the sun. French Dip, do you know something we don't? Give us a little wink wink in the chat if you do.
I'm gonna shoot that down just because.
Oh, okay.
Since I want to say 7, Resident Evil has been like at PlayStation events for the most part.
Yeah.
Like they're always at like a state of play.
That's
It's
fair.
always at a
Point.
nonsense showcase for some reason.
But
I feel like they're everywhere though. Also,
I think
Yeah.
now more than ever it could be anywhere because like just the state of play. You know what I'm saying? Who
Yeah.
knows?
yeah.
That's true.
I do feel
Summer
like
makes
typically
sense.
though, I don't remember exactly where Requiem was revealed. Actually, no, was it Xbox's showcase during Summer Game Fest?
Mm,
It was during Summer
I
Game
don't
Fest
know.
that we
I
got
don't
the Resident Evil
remember.
9 reveal. I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. Because I remember
don't recall.
I don't
we
remember.
reacted
Wait,
to
yeah,
it.
because we were streaming and I do remember I was on there. I do remember
Yeah.
that. I think it was.
I think it might have been
yeah.
Xbox's. So I don't know. We'll see.
I got a memory
Anything's
like a
possible.
goldfish, so it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen like 5 more
Bad
times.
exposure
that it happens
confirmed
somewhere
because she
that's
was
not
there.
PlayStation. So
Yeah, Mad Exposure was
Okay,
during the
well,
main
there you
SGF. But I do think more so, not even that, more so I just don't know that they would release 2 Resident Evils in one game. Jerica writing down yet again in her What Would Dolly Do notebook the crimes that Blaster Goblin has committed. But because like if you think about other things, so they're releasing Resident Evil Requiem in a week. They're releasing Pragmata in a couple months. We're going to be getting Onimusha Way of the Sword at some point this year. I'm sure there's another Capcom game that I'm just not thinking about right now. I don't know that there is room for either a fourth or a fifth major, because we're also going to be getting Monster Hunter something. But I
Oh
do
yeah, one of the
think
stupid Monster Hunter games.
I do think Q1 2027 absolutely we're getting another Resident Evil game. I hope that Resident Evil just lives in Q1 from now on. That we just always get something Resident Evil in Q1. That'd be nice.
Mm.
I think it's a good slot for sure.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
I
so
like that.
hurt that French Dip just went Team Jericho on me in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I told you I got goldfish
Whoa.
memory. I don't remember that it happened. If as soon as it happens at 4 more SGFs, I'll remember.
After the
Until then,
accident,
I'm not gonna remember that.
we do have to
Yeah.
remember that the
Exa-
accident really changed Blaster Goblin's memory. So
It
let's be
did.
kind
Yeah.
to our
We don't need
people.
to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But speaking
don't
of the
bring it up.
accident, we now go into 2001. We have Survivor 2 Code Veronica, which was first released in arcades, then shortly thereafter on PS2. This was a light. Well, so now I guess, Quentin, I'm getting confused between the difference between a railgun and a light gun game. I now understand the difference, but is Survivor 2 a railgun and not a light gun game? Or is this a light
I
gun
believe
game?
so.
Okay.
I believe so, but I'm not sure because I have never touched Survivor 2 Dead Aim. That is not
Thank you, Davy James and French Dip, for understanding my segue there into 2001 with the accident. But we also had Gaiden, which we do want to talk about, Blaster Goblin. You have played this game on the Game Boy Color.
I have.
The story revolves around a viral outbreak on a passenger ship and has Leon and Barry Burton. I haven't seen him in a minute. They return as protagonists. The game is non-canon as its plot is contradicted by the main series and key parts, and its events are ignored. It was a top-down game, but would go first person for combat.
Yeah. Oh,
Talk to me about
piece of garbage.
Gaiden.
You are, I believe it's Gaiden. You're Leon on a boat. So back to or I guess for the first time, the Revelation setting of the boat. It's top down, like you said. It is not a great play. The story non-canonical, so it does not matter for literally anything. And the combat is kind of like a golf game, or like or I guess kind of like it's like a sports mini game where it's just like a bar swings back and forth, and then you have to click it like in the red zone, and that's your combat for Resident Evil Gaiden. It is not fantastic, but it is certainly a Resident Evil game.
The B-roll is
that's all there
so
is to
funny.
say
This
about it.
game looks so... I mean, it was on the
It
Game
is.
Boy Color. You can only do
This
so
looks
much.
fun. Yeah.
It honestly,
like it.
for Game Boy Color, it looks kind of good.
I like it. It looks.
Yeah, here we go.
I-
There's the
I think it
combat. The
looks
combat
amazing.
is so funny
Yeah.
with the... Yeah, I mean, it's like a Mario Golf, like, where like you have to get
Yeah,
the thing in the
exactly.
bar. For sure. Yeah, I see what you
I'm
mean by golf.
here
You're
Play
a
that.
famous Mario Golf player.
Yeah, I would fucking
Jericho.
miss everything. Hit the walls.
This is
Yeah.
also their second attempt at a Game Boy game. If people don't know,
Oh.
they recently leaked a ROM of like a full, like the entirety of Resident Evil 1 on Game Boy.
Whoa.
And
I didn't know.
Whoa.
it is wildly like accurate to the PS1 version. It just looks awful, but it looks like what you think a Game Boy game is.
We talked a little bit about it already, but now we move to 2002 with the Resident Evil remake. I don't know that there's much to say here that we haven't covered. Would anybody disagree?
The additions are fantastic.
What was that?
The additions to the story
Additions.
that added like a whole segment of the story that is not in the original version.
Oh, really? What part?
The whole thing where you like go out to the cabin outside with Lisa Trevor, that whole character, none of that is in the original version of the game. That's all remake stuff. And some of the best part of that game.
I had no idea.
That's why you should play the remake instead of the original.
Wow, bold statements.
Well,
I mean,
there you
I will always choose if I can, like in this current climate with the way that video games look now, I will always try to play something that has better quality graphics, unless I already have like some nostalgia attached to the original. Then I would play like the original, but for the most part, I'll always go for the remakes. Personally, Nancy in the chat. Hi, Nancy.
Nancy in the chat. How you doing, Nancy? We're good. I hope you're good too.
I stand by that. If you're getting into the series, there is no need to play the original versions of any of these.
Sure.
It is not worth your time unless you want to be a Resident Evil freak.
Yeah.
Like, we got
Which-
the remakes. You're good.
Some
Except
people
for
want to
Code
be freaks.
Veronica.
Some people want to be freaks. I'm not one of those,
Mhm.
at least in this capacity.
Oh, we're-
Um.
oh.
Oh.
Mm.
Hey. Oh. We also in 2002 got Resident Evil 0. This is a prequel to Resident Evil 1996. Follows STARS officers Rebecca and convict Billy Cohen as they explore an abandoned training facility for employees of the pharmaceutical company Umbrella in the outskirts of Raccoon City. The gameplay is similar to other Resident Evil games, but adds the ability to switch between characters to solve puzzles, and each of them have their own unique abilities. Another fun fact about this one that I didn't know about: this originally was being developed for the N64 in 1998 and was designed to be more difficult than the previous one, with inspirations from, we talked about earlier, Sweet Home in 1989, because this is the first game that they didn't have item boxes. And this was also the first time that you could, as the player, choose to drop items, which I didn't know about that fun fact as well. So I guess it was very much about, like, you need to choose what you have with you because you can't store anything, and if you drop it, it's gone forever. I played 0.
Incorrect.
Is it not?
No, so you can drop items, but they don't
Really?
disappear, and that's how they get around the storage thing.
I
Is that
see.
you drop something and it marks on your map, so you're just like
I was almost
backtracking
right.
your ass off.
I was
for
pretty
this
close.
whole game.
I was pretty close to being right.
You
That's
were
all that
like
matters.
almost there, but
I was
I
almost
couldn't let
there.
it slip past.
No, I'm glad
I
you did.
fumbled the whole state of play thing, so I gotta win some points back.
Hey, you got
Circle
it.
back. I have a question. Resident Evil expert Blaster Goblin BG. Would you recommend playing this first, or like how do you recommend? And this may be a broader question for the end, but like if you were to give like a playthrough order, like do you have a preferred playthrough order? Like if you're gonna play this, do you think you should play this before the other ones? Like what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think this matters at all unless you
Okay,
want
good.
the deep
Great.
lore backstory.
Yeah.
It really is just this is following in the Code Veronica nonsense vein of things, of like you're fighting a leech man in this and leeches all over, and there's like suits of armor that are brought to life by leech. It's nonsense. There's a huge bat monster. This is where it gets weird. So unless you want that,
Yeah.
and then a bunch of backstory on like how it all started, you don't really need this.
Good to know. Okay.
I think
Because I think sometimes it can be intimidating. Oh, sorry, Patrick. But it can
No,
be
no.
intimidating, I think, to people who maybe haven't played the franchise at all because there is so many. Like, that's how I felt without really knowing much at first. But knowing that it's not necessarily supposed to be taken too seriously, then, like, picking up wherever you can, I think, like, is very much encouraged, it seems. So,
I think
But-
Resident Evil kind of works like a Mad Max movie. Like I'm a big Mad Max guy. That's a Blaster Goblin lore drop. You can jump into any of those movies without any context of any movie behind it or after it, and it does not matter. They're like all standalone and connected. And Resident Evil is very similar in that way, that you can jump into almost any Resident Evil with no information about Resident Evil, and it makes enough sense to you. It makes as much sense as it does to people that know what's going on.
That's fair.
Minus maybe like knowing who a character is when he shows up. But
Sure, like why
if
is
you
this
want
guy
to just
punching a boulder?
a play order, 1 through 8 or whatever is the way to do it. Just all the number ones and slip Veronica in there because you can't skip that one.
before 5, you said? Is because it sets up for 5,
Oh,
Veronica does? Or sets up for 3?
Yes. It
Okay.
technically comes in like right after 3.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's happening simultaneously with 3, but then goes past 3. I think it was saying in the little description.
Yeah, it's 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 run parallel for the first half, and then it kind of goes on a little farther after 2.
Gotcha.
I think is how that works. 3 goes a little farther, and then Veronica's like a few months after.
I'm
It's a
realizing I don't
nonsense
think
timeline.
I ever finished 0 because I for years have thought that 0 exclusively took place on a train, but I'm now realizing from that description that that's not the case. And so the train is just like the first hour of the game as I
What do you got
in the
against
B-roll
trains?
scroll through this long play. It was like I jump into here and I'm like, oh no, we're not in a train. We're in like a factory or some shit.
No, that's a
so
train.
That's a train.
Oh
but-
no, I'm sorry. I'm seeing a delayed version of this.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask earlier before we started. You said, "Do you have any questions?" And I ignored it, and then realized I was like, "I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking for B-roll."
Oh,
For
fair.
that the whole time.
Yeah.
An hour and a half in, he's like, I got
Oh,
questions now.
Doesn't
Uh,
ask questions.
Doesn't ask questions. Yeah, definitely put that in the book.
Doesn't
I
talk you through
remember
it. Got it.
I remember liking the idea of Resident Evil 0, but this was like a year ago maybe. I had picked it up on the Switch because it was like $7 or something, and I rage quit in about 15 minutes. I was like it being in the train, it's so claustrophobic with the tank controls, even though they're like a little improved, but they're still tanky. I was like, ooh, 0 ain't it. So Blaster Goblin, what is your like general opinion of 0, good or bad in quality?
I like 0. I think it's way ahead of its time.
Okay. In what way?
It kind of it sets up the whole 2-player system of it minus the 2-player part, and it does a lot. This is like a really interesting game, like technically, because it shouldn't work as well as it does, because you play as both Billy and Rebecca at the same time, and you can actually move them at the same time with both sticks. If like one's in your way, you just move them out of the way, and you can switch between them at any time. And like you can have like if you're on the train, you can have someone at the beginning of the train and someone at the back of the train, and just like switch between them in seconds. It just warps back between the two.
Oh wow.
And they work very independently, but you're controlling both of them at the same time. It is fascinating how well it works.
Huh. And this launched on the GameCube, so ahead of their
Yeah.
time, it seems.
GameCube.
Yeah, shout out to the
It is.
GameCube, Kayla.
Yeah.
But also, I hate Billy. I think he is the worst of the one-time characters. That guy sucks.
Billy
His
sucks.
stupid
I do
mullet,
remember
his
that.
giant tattoo,
Yeah.
his pants that are just way too high-waisted.
Yeah.
I hate that guy.
Yeah. A little
Very
bit of a
Kylo
mullet
Ren
going
fan.
on. Which I'm not against mullets, but all those
Not
things
on that
combined,
guy.
it's not good. Very not
I
good.
sort of want a mullet and wear my pants higher.
I think you
Maybe
could.
I am Billy.
As a
Yeah.
hill person adjacent, I think you could certainly pull off a mullet, Jericho.
Okay.
So consider
Person
that.
callback.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, brother. Praise hail, praise down.
Yeah.
So true.
2003, we got Dead Aim, which is another railgun shooter on the PS2. Not made by Capcom, but published by them. I was really confused. I don't know if Blaster Goblin, if you know about this. This game really doesn't deserve probably this much time on it, but it's like this game is like a Resident Evil game, but it's also not. It's like it's part of this other franchise too. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Man, you have just baffled me entirely because I thought Survivor 2 was Dead Aim.
Yeah,
Is
no,
it not?
Survivor 2. No, Survivor 2 is not Dead Aim.
I've said it. I think I've said it like 3 times.
Survivor 2
Maybe
is Code Veronica. There's Survivor 2 Code Veronica, which
That's
is
right.
a light gun shooter in the arcades that then came to PS2. That is it's an adaptation of Code Veronica as a light gun and or railgun.
Okay.
So Dead Aim, apparently
them
there was a franchise called Dead Aim, apparently, on I don't know what it was on, if it was on PS2 or whatever. And this is Resident Evil Dead Aim is the third game in the Dead Aim franchise that is just like Resident Evil for some reason.
So weird.
I was like,
Almost
I
like
couldn't
gaming?
understand the Wikipedia description of the game, honestly. It was so confusing. Let me click this and read it. Maybe I was having a stroke.
No.
Yeah, okay, so Resident Evil Dead Aim is a light gun shooter video game developed by Cravia and published by Capcom. It is the third Gun Survivor title in the Resident Evil series and the fourth and final installment in the Gun Survivor series. It's also the third in the franchise to feature first-person shooting in Resident Evil. So Gun Survivor, I guess, is something different.
That must be
than-
where my confusion has lied
Yeah.
with this the entire time. Is that it's Survivor but not.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or maybe
That
maybe
wins
that's what
me
it is.
every
It's
day.
not that it's not Resident Evil. It's that they're saying the Gun Survivor series is a sub thing within Resident Evil, and this is the third. Is that what they're saying? It really doesn't matter. But this confused the fuck out of me earlier when I was trying to
don't
put
know, but
together the timeline.
Is that supposed
Very
to be Leon
interesting.
in this game though? The blonde guy? Who is
The
that?
blonde guy,
Blaster Goblin.
A
uh,
Leon like.
Spencer
Let me see.
Rain. No, that's the name of a ship. Never mind. You
Okay.
play as Bruce McGivern. Bruce McGivern.
That
a member of-
McGive
That
her
sucked,
my
yeah.
urn.
Oh,
Because it's dead.
during
Or I'm dying of this game.
sure, very good.
Because it
very, very good.
sucks. It looks like it sucks.
Yeah, it does not
It's
look good.
fine. Continue.
Also released in
I know, that's
2003,
really
Resident Evil Outbreak, which is the first episodic Resident Evil game, I believe, on the PS2.
Ooh.
Blaster Goblin, the only one that has touched Outbreak. But you played 8 characters, different characters in this game, and it's
Whoa.
set during Resident Evil 2 and 3. So you're playing as like other, I guess, one-time characters. So yeah,
Cover
tell
art's
us about it.
crazy.
It's just people surviving in Raccoon City. It's kind of similar to that same thing of like the Resident Evil 2 DLCs. Like you're just like miscellaneous characters with their own little stories in Raccoon City, and also it was online. Like it had like a full online mechanic to it that I
Oh.
have never touched because I didn't play PlayStation 2 online. So I don't know how any of that part worked. And I have not put a whole lot of time into this because it is just like a nonsense spinoff. I think there's some lore stuff that connects deeper in there, but honestly, don't know a whole lot other than
Yeah.
I've played a little bit of it and it's
There you go.
okay. But not something worth wasting a lot of time on.
Coal Mine says Outbreak is particularly relevant to RE9, but I don't know that that's true. So I need confirmation that that's true.
Interesting.
As Coal Mine's
Very
first game
bold
is about to be
claim.
RE9. Yeah. But the next year we did get a standalone expansion. I think this might be the first instance of a standalone expansion. Is that right, Blaster Goblin?
I believe so, yes.
And
And I've
Outbreak
been looking for
File
it
2.
everywhere and I can never find it.
I know a guy.
Is it like hard to
Just
find?
because I want it in the collection, I just can't
Sure.
ever find it anywhere. If I do, it is like absurdly expensive.
Sure.
That's a good question. Like, are all of these playable somewhere? Like, or is there some of these that you couldn't necessarily like get to now? That's a
I mean,
good
these
question.
are. I mean,
Yo.
this is locked to the PS2.
Coal Mines
Oh,
was
okay.
Coal Mines was speaking true. Grace's
shit.
mom is the protagonist of Outbreak.
Oh, look at that!
What?
How about that?
Well,
Something
I knew she was
Ashcroft.
in. I was
Wow.
hoping. I didn't realize it was this game. I was like, surely it's been one of these random ass games that I just missed, but I didn't know it was Outbreak. Okay.
So that's
Huh.
certainly going to be, because this game is taking place, the original Outbreak takes place during Resident Evil 2, when Leon is a rookie for the RPD. There's gonna be
I wonder-
something in 9 about
Interesting.
Surely,
Ashley,
because
the
like,
mother.
do I need to go? Do I need to
Angela.
go and watch a recap here? Is it gonna matter for me to play without knowing what happens in Outbreak? I need to know.
Probably not. It's like,
Angela.
how many people? This was 2003. Like, how? I mean, are we really gonna? Surely there's some sort of like recap like built in. I would hope. Seeing as how,
I
like,
bet
Or
it'll
no, I don't.
be-
I bet it.
I bet it would. They would not expect anybody to remember 2003.
It's probably
yeah.
It's probably
It'll-
in the notes. It's probably in a note that you pick up in her office somewhere.
Oh,
you gotta
yeah.
read. You gotta read.
could
They're
be.
gonna make you read a lot.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
I
could
have
also.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Patrick hates us. He's bored of all of us, as you can see.
I know. I'm sick.
Oh, is the shopkeeper, or is there like a shop system throughout like the early days of Resident Evil, or is that like what's the cart guy? His name, is shopkeeper the
The
right
merchant?
word? Like the merchant, yeah. Is that like a newer addition,
Thank you.
or is there so?
He
Exactly.
started in 4.
Okay, gotcha. So like a buying sort of system, like that's fairly in the newer iterations.
Yeah.
I got a collection of rare things on sale,
Whoa, shit.
stranger.
Damn.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that
Okay.
came.
What are you buying?
Wow, I thought he was here with us.
Thank you.
This guy's an actor. He could be the cop
I
in
need to.
it.
I need to record a couple. I'll throw you a couple of dollars.
I'll
Like,
buy it
record
at a
some of those for me.
high price.
I need that to wake me up in the morning.
I'll wake up, Jerica.
That's
Put your
perfect.
pasties on, Jerica.
Yeah, time to go.
Grab the pasties.
And run.
Well,
Run.
this is a great segue into 2005, Resident Evil 4 released on the GameCube. This is the return of Leon, in which you are trying to rescue the president's daughter in rural Spain. This is also, I think, the first time in the franchise where the zombies are something other than, where this is a parasite in the infected and not just zombie whatever virus made by Umbrella Corp,
Reanimated
technically. Although I
dead
guess,
people.
remind me, I just played this game, but is Umbrella Corp related to the parasite in 4 Blaster Goblin? I forget.
They're not the cause of it or like anything. Like they're trying to get it. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of like it, because Umbrella's kind of like defunct at this time. They're not really doing much anymore.
Sure.
But Wesker is like in the background trying to get the Pogus to
Ouroboros.
so he can make that.
Yeah. This is also where we're introduced to Ada Wong, who is kind of the not sidekick by any means of Leon, but we start to see this like connection of like from 4 on with Leon's story, Ada's always around. But yeah, this one I feel like 4 is, I think, universally agreed upon to be the best Resident Evil. It's the highest rated critically, and I'm talking the original 4. First, but also like the first game in the franchise where they seemed to really lean more into the action of it all, because this is also the first game where you could completely control the camera throughout the game with like, it was the first time it was like behind you instead of being fixed in any capacity. And not including the Code Veronica version, but this was the first like free camera, I guess. But so the original, you said neither of y'all played Kayla and Jericho, right? The OG,
Not the original, but
The
did
original?
did play the remake. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried. I played it and put it down. Still
You
got
know
a
what
copy.
I
It's in my
have?
trunk. Found that recently. The
Really?
GameCube. Mhm.
I have incredibly fond memories of, if Cayman was on this podcast tonight, we could talk about, although I think we've talked about it before on the show. One of the very first things that we really ever bonded over sleepovers playing Resident Evil 4 on the Wii with the Wii motion
Aw.
controls.
Oh shit.
And doing like speed
Cute.
runs essentially of Resident Evil 4 on the Wii. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
this one, I feel like this game is maybe the most fond memories I have of the franchise too, of like the first time kind of becoming, certainly not an adult. I mean, in 2005, I'm 14 years old, but like starting to be able to play games at a higher level and like understanding games being bigger and like being smart enough to play something this intense and large and whatnot. But Blaster Goblin, Resident Evil 4, where do you place it in the pantheon of Resident Evil games?
I put this in the pantheon of all games. It's the greatest game ever made.
Greatest game of all time, the GOAT.
No one has made a
Whoa.
better game than Resident Evil 4.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I can't pick between my children. Remake and the original are the same. They hold the same place together as number 1. Greatest game ever made of all time.
Wow.
A revolutionary game. A game with a wild development that spawned other games that are fantastic. Everything about Resident Evil 4 is perfect. There is not a flaw to it. It changed games in general forever, and people respect it for that. But it also is like super close to me personally. It is a game that I have played probably more than 100 times, like front to back.
Wow.
It is nuts the amount of times I've played it. Like I grew up playing it. It was one of the few games that I played with like my brother. We played this together a lot, and that's like one of the only ones. I played through it yearly. I had like a tradition around October where I would just run this game over and over and over again every October. That's lessened as I've gotten older, because I don't have time to just sit and play
Sure.
Resident Evil all day anymore. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 is perfect, and there's nothing wrong with it. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
And that's our
I
show.
would
There's a couple of notes I added in there, but you saved
I
yourself.
would love
I was
to
like, well,
know,
I'll just
Wesker,
mark
what
this one
about
out. There is some things in there I do
what
find
about this
concerning,
one?
but
Are people calling this mustard? I just caught that.
They
How many
are,
times
yeah.
does that come through the chat? This
Probably
thing is
5 or 6
stupid.
times.
This is the worst color of a water bottle.
Yeah, it's bad.
And it's all
That's
dented on
so
the
funny.
top. It is so ugly.
Kayla, you were about to ask
That's really
something.
good. Yeah, I was about to be very profound and very professional, of course, as always.
Sure, sure, sure.
No, I was just gonna ask, like, what about this one? Aside from like your, and I know it's hard when you love a game this much, kind of like separate your personal like nostalgia with it. But what about this one stands out to you in the franchise as like the best one?
I think
Like if you had to
this
pick a,
masters all the different kind of Resident Evils together. It is not too actiony and not too. It's like not so actiony that it's Resident Evil 5 where it's just combat all the time and like throws horror out the window. It blends them well together. The way the map weaves around the puzzles are fantastic. There's a little bit it does everything perfectly. You can tell that they really like fine-tune everything into what you want from Resident Evil before they completely send it off the rails and ruin it for some people.
Sure, yeah.
yeah. We haven't talked about the map yet, Patrick. I'm surprised you haven't brought it up. Resident Evil has great maps,
Brother.
fantastic maps.
Fantastic maps.
Such good fucking maps. And especially the remakes to make it even better. Like playing the remake right now of 1, just that the very basic, like the map. 1, you can unlock a whole map of like you can find it in the environment to then show you the rooms that you haven't gotten to yet, or you go into a room and now that's on your map, whatever. But this color change of now there is nothing left to do in this room, going from like red to gray or green or blue or whatever the version of the game is. There is not a better map in video games than a Resident Evil map for sure. Very good call out, Kayla, and I'm disappointed in myself for not bringing it up sooner. I think though, to add to your question about what makes 4 special, I think of the time as well, 2005, I feel like this is one of the first games that had like legit set pieces at like a grand scale while also still having like the more intimate moments too. Like I think of the opening village sequence being like, one of the more iconic video
Oh,
game sequences. And the lake monster on the boat with the spears. Like I feel like that is such a
mhm.
big kind of famous boss fight in video games. And then like the chainsaw guys come back with like the dual chainsaws later in the village. I just feel like that, yeah, this one, I think there was so many of those kinds of moments in 4 that we hadn't really seen a ton. And like I'm having trouble thinking of like other games of the time, but I feel it to be true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that that makes a lot of sense, and I am curious too, Blaster Goblin, do you think, like, were you impressed when the remake came out about how it represented itself with the remake, or do you feel like is this one of the ones that you hold more dear the original, or do you feel like they both kind of, like, match each other well? Do you feel like it was a good iteration of the original?
Absolutely. The remake is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's nothing lost of that game in that remake. Like there's things that are missing or moved around, and I don't think it makes it any worse or better to move those things around.
Yeah.
It's just the Resident Evil 4 is just like a well-crafted puzzle. And if you rearrange the pieces, somehow it still works. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but no matter what you can throw that into a bowl and mix it up, and somehow it still comes out as I'm running out of analogies here. I don't know, a good pancake or whatever.
Yeah.
It is the perfect pancake, Resident Evil 4.
It's the perfect pancake at the end of the day. Jericho, what about
Mhm.
your experience with Resident Evil 4? We haven't heard from you yet on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first one I played ever
Yeah.
on the GameCube, but I revisited. Like I've been waiting since I got back into Resident Evil since 7. Really, I was like, okay, when is this one getting made? I know we got 2, and I'm just like, just wanting 4 remakes. I can finally just also partake in uh giving awards to this game as well. And I when I it's it's such a switch for me being like 7 being the first game that I have ever played and going back to 2 remake. And 7 has, we'll get into it later, but it has some of the scratches some of those itches for me too, like just being in a gross, creepy environment. And I think that's what 4 really did for me when I went back and played like the remake. I was like, I just love this area environment so much. Like I've grown up knowing like, or for me, like what's creepy is the woods and just grow. We already established this, like hillbillies. There's no hillbillies in this one, but there's a lot of like just gross characters, and that
Yeah.
sort of for me is just like what I play these also for like not so much the story, but like yeah, the fear factor, and then the fun puzzles, and just the environments, and just seeing where the game ends up. And I think that's why I loved for as much as I did, is just because of the environment. And to your point, like the set pieces, like it's so I love being out in the woods. And that's just a nice little surprise when you get sort of out of the village and into like other areas, is just how much like the enemies sort of change a little bit. I can't remember the baddie guy in it that shows up, and I just did not expect his type of persona. So like and
The
that's
cult leader
for
guy.
yeah, and just like yeah, and just like the where you think you're headed, and to your point from way earlier, like you end up somewhere else. But I think 4 sort of stays sort of narrow with where it starts and ends in terms of just like kookiness. Um, yeah, I love 4. It was a nice change of pace from 7 and 8 for
Yeah,
me,
for
and then
sure.
2 is just a special place in my heart for just being in the police department or whatever.
Well, yeah, and I remember being so intrigued as someone who hadn't played like most of the extra things or like the railgun shooters or whatever, but for the first time being somewhere else. Because and in 5 we go to Africa, which we'll talk about shortly, but basically every other game before this was like some version of America, most of it in a city, and like the mansion kind of thing with the first one. But this one being in like the woods of Spain, I remember being so interested by, and the enemies being able to speak and speaking Spanish because we're in Spain. I just remember being so interested, and with the way that they built that world, and like going back to the map of you're in the village or you're in the castle or whatever. I feel like all of the environments were so interestingly crafted to feel lived in. Like you go into the houses in the village, for example, and there's like shit on the pot, like on the stove, like
Yeah.
just moldy, gross soup. Or you're in the castle and you go into this like closet and there's just like snakes and jars and boxes of creepy
Yeah, like
things. And it's like very immersive in that way.
every place had its own like own character, and you could remember like different parts of it. I think a little bit easier versus just the previous games that have sort of similar environments and places you're going and trying to escape and get into. Like this had very distinct areas, and I think that was a first for Resident Evil in
Yeah.
general.
Well, we move on to 2007, to Umbrella Chronicles. I think this is one that we can probably zip through a little bit, but this was a light gun shooter. I think we would say light gun this time, but not railgun, because it was on the Wii and the PlayStation 3
This
with
one
PlayStation
is a
Move.
light gun.
And it was kind of like an adaptation of Zero, Resident Evil Remake, and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis as a light gun shooter. It's the first time that the entire thing is through Albert Wesker's perspective, which I thought, or not his perspective. Sorry, he's narrating the story throughout. But I played
Albertine
this.
Wesker right now.
Exactly. And Blaster Goblin played this. I don't have like super fond memories of this, but I remember being in 2007, having a Wii and having played so many hours of 4 at this point, like basically unlocking everything that you could unlock in 4 on the Wii and being like, ooh, another Wii Resident Evil game, let's get it. And just like not doing my due diligence as a consumer, as a child, and getting it and coming home and it being this light gun shooter that is like not very good. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I'm pretty sure I took it back to GameStop pretty quickly after that. But Blaster Goblin, what do you remember about Umbrella Chronicles?
Oh boy. I did the same thing, but I did it with the grandma Wii. Like everybody in the world had a Wii, and everybody's grandma
Yeah.
also had a Wii.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those days that like where I'm like out with her getting groceries or whatever, and she's like, "If you want, we'll grab a Wii game." And I was like, "Sick." At home, I have Resident Evil 4, so I'll get this. And then I got there and I was like, "Huh, this is not what I wanted,
Sure.
but it'll do." So then I sat there and shot leeches with a little plastic gun for 2 hours or whatever, and I was like, "This is cool. I
Yeah.
don't need to do
All
this."
right.
But
You had like the
I-
plastic gun attachment. Yeah.
oh yeah, it
That's
may be
funny.
floating
Janet.
around here still, the same one.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Cute.
Janet really came through with that one.
She really did.
Shout out Janet.
Shout out Janet.
That it's all right. I've played through it, and unless you want like a really abridged story of those 3 games and to kind of see a little bit of the mansion in like a 3D space, that's all it's got for you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we can't skip 2008's Resident Evil Degeneration. So at first, when we were talking about the show before the show, I was like, I can't find a Degeneration game. I don't know what you're talking about, Blaster Goblin, that you said that you played this. And he was like, oh no, there is a game that was an iPod Touch tie-in game to the animated movie Degeneration. So tell us about this, because I am so interested in what this game is.
This is so funny.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Resident Evil animated movies. That like Degeneration, the Damnation, Vendetta, I think was a Netflix series. They all tie into the mainline series of like the games. They're like canonical pieces of it. And for whatever reason, they made a Degeneration game to go with the movie, but they only put it on the iPod Touch. Like I don't know if it went to the Google Play Store or not, but it was only there. And it looked real stiff, and it was supposed to play like Resident Evil 4. And what it did instead was play like the Resident Evil 4 iPod Touch port that was on the Zeebo as well. It was not the greatest way to play a game. It was just a mission-based game where you would have like maybe 3 zombies per level, and it had some little quick time events with swiping, I think.
Yeah.
And you had your little virtual stick and you'd walk around and aim it and shoot, and it worked kind of like a Resident Evil if you wanted to get like playing the Game Boy version of a game fix of Resident Evil on the go with an iPod Touch.
I played this.
You've played
by
it?
looking at
What'd
this
you play
B-roll.
it on?
I guess an iPod
I
Touch.
had the iPod Touch.
I'm wondering if you played it on the N-Gage, because it's
Was
so
it also
funny.
on
'cause
the
I was like,
N-Gage?
I was like, this looks like a game that was on the N-Gage, and I looked it up. It was.
Okay.
Oh, what is that? I don't
The
even know what
N-Gage
that
did
is.
just pop up on the B-roll. That's so funny. The timing was perfect.
That's
What even
awesome.
is that?
It was a phone. It was
phone.
like think of a Game Boy Advance as a phone. That's basically what the N-Gage
Yeah.
was, where on either side of it there
Oh.
was like a keyboard, and in the middle was the screen, and it was a Sony phone, and they wanted it to be like a gamer's cell phone, and they supported it for like a year with like 4 games, and this was one of them.
Yep.
But that's so funny. Yeah, I played this, and at around the same time, because this was 2008. I don't know exactly the year, but there was a Dead Space mobile game that was an adaptation of Dead Space, and I played that too on mobile. I don't remember this game at all, but that just activated my fucking memory. Holy shit.
Can I just say that
Hilarious.
High School Weekly just said, remind me to tell you about the time I convinced Wayne Brady not to buy an N-Gage. Real story.
I've heard this story. before.
I love Wayne Brady.
It's a very good story.
It's fantastic. Glad he didn't buy one.
Yeah. Well, we go to 2009 to Resident Evil 5, which Jerica also played, myself and Blaster Goblin. And this was, so the first one in terms of major since 4, which was back in 2005. And this was on the 360, PS3, and Windows. Although it came to Windows later, as most games back then did. But this is the first time that we're in Africa in the franchise. You play as Chris and Shiva, in Kijuju, a fictional region of West Africa. Chris learns that he must confront his past in the form of an old enemy, Albert Wesker, and his former partner, Jill Valentine. I don't remember Jill's role in Resident Evil 5 at all, because it's been that long since I played through the entire game. But this is actually, maybe other than 4, my most played Resident Evil game in my life.
Oh.
No,
I played
mine as well.
so
Very
much Resident Evil 5 back, like when it was on the during its prime time, just churning through those co-op missions with a buddy of mine from high school. We would just spend an entire day on a Saturday just trying to unlock everything. So there was this one mission, I want to say it's in Act 5, you're in these like caves maybe. That was the mission that you would make the most gold in. So we would just play that mission over and over and over and over again so that we could get as much gold as possible to then go up, get whatever upgrades. But overall, I don't think 5 is a very good game, but I had so much fun playing it.
Does this one have a remake? Or no?
does not.
And
No.
It does not.
and
Okay.
if it does eventually, it will be reworked in a major way. Because there's some weirdness about it being in Africa and the way that they handle some of the
Yeah.
storylines and plots in that
Amazing.
game that I don't think they could do as one-to-one as they have done with remakes in the past. I think it needs a good bit of overhauling, from what I remember of that video game.
Sounds like it.
It's
I would love to have a
fine.
co-op experience though, like again with Resident Evil. Like I think that's why I didn't enjoy this game as much as I wanted to. Um I didn't play much of it. I just remember trying it because it was the new Resident Evil and I was like, this is cool, but I don't really like how it feels. I can't really remember specifics, but like there was just something about it like I didn't enjoy playing it as much.
Hmm.
But I think that could have been remedied by like at least being able to play with somebody else. It sounds.
So this
This
one
game
was
rocks.
over the shoulder.
Yep. And it was very
Okay.
much an action forward game. Like there's very little horror in Resident Evil 5. Like it's basically just
Yeah.
Gears of War, the Resident Evil game, essentially.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
it was
Good.
way
Good.
more military like involvement than I thought it would be. Yeah.
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 Yeah, you
for sure.
fight other people with guns in this one.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
Which isn't
this
as
game
common
rocks. This
or
is
ever?
like my number 2 Resident Evil. Not based off of Resident
Wow.
Evil quality. This one's from the heart.
Just as a game, like as a fun game.
Yeah, God, as a game,
Okay.
the memories,
fair.
the doing the same thing of running these co-op missions like into the ground with friends, like multiple all-nighters pulled with Resident Evil 5. This
Aw,
game
that's fun.
this is like my junior high years starting off in this, like playing this. Yeah, this game was like very very important to me for a long time, and I've not gone back to it nearly as much as 4, but this is the best action forward Resident Evil.
That I agree with.
Very
I
fun.
would certainly, after playing through a couple hours of 6 last night, and someone's like, "Oh, let's play like one of the more action Resident Evils," I would choose 5 over 6 every time so far, for sure.
Five is fantastic for if you're looking for that specific kind of game, then it's fantastic. If you
Yeah.
want kind of Resident Evil light but more action, Resident Evil 5 is the way to go.
There you go.
Very fun.
Back on, I think it was either on Drop and Drop Out or Spotlight last year. I forget. I might have been Spotlight. Me and Maury did the first like 3 hours of Resident Evil 5, but we never got to do the rest of the game. But we had a good time playing those first few hours of the game.
I mean,
I like this box art.
So, yeah.
Well, after 6 is done, if you want to roll backwards into 5, I'm always game for 5 co-op
Okay.
all the time.
I
Anybody in the
I
world
might.
can ask me, and I'll make it work.
Anyone.
Anyone in the world.
Also in 2005, we got the
Write that
Darkside
down, Jericho.
Chronicles, which was released on the Wii. This is another light gun shooter, bundled with the Wii Zapper accessory, apparently. I don't know that there's
Zapper
really much to say
mentioned.
about Darkside Chronicles. Blaster Goblin, do you have anything to say about this game?
It's the exact same as Umbrella Chronicles, except this one does have some original content to it. Like it gives backstory on Resident Evil 4, and
Okay.
that is about the only reason to touch this,
There you go.
because this is
Easy.
where the mission with Leon and Krauser together is from. Operation Javier is
I
in
see.
this.
Operation Javier, you see?
Mhm.
2011, we get Mercenaries 3D, a 3DS title. It's a combination of the Mercenaries minigames featured in 4 and 5. Players must defeat as many enemies as possible within a set time limit. I don't think any of us have touched Mercenaries 3D. So probably not much to
3DS
say here.
mentioned.
There you go.
The
Well, we're going to be
3DS
mentioning the
passed
3DS
me
a little
up.
more, because also in 2011 we got Revelations, which was the kind of marquee 3DS title for a bit in terms of third party. This was you play as Jill and Chris as they try to uncover the truth behind a bioterrorist organization that plans to infect the Earth's oceans with a virus. Because the unique thing about this game is like the entire thing, I think, takes place on like a cruise liner. So you're
Yeah.
going
Oh,
through
I
like all these
remember.
different ship rooms, and there's also, I think this game, Blaster Goblin, remind me, there's this like zombies. Maybe they're not zombies, but they're like gooey creatures that like slip through doors and
Yeah,
shit.
Ooh.
I think
yeah,
like
they
water based.
suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's kind of weird, and it's got. I never played the 3DS version of it because, like I was getting ready to say with Mercenaries 3D, 3DS just blew by me, and I never touched it. I was a Vita guy.
I still have one.
So I got to this on the 360 or like Xbox One version of it, whatever. When they
like the
released it to
remaster.
console. But it still has a lot of like, because it was a 3DS game, they were like, we got to put in some gimmicks. So you're like scanning stuff, and that has like a first person aiming mechanic that it will like pull in like the Perfect Dark Zero. Is that the game that does? I'm trying to think of the game that's like it's 3D and then pulls. It's been done a million times. It does that kind of weird thing. It's a weird Resident Evil title, and they're okay. I don't think there's anything
they're not great.
fantastic to say about Revelations, but
Because the main thing I
certainly are
remember,
titles, and they're okay.
especially because it was designed for the 3DS at first, and the 3DS didn't have dual analog sticks until the new 3DS, and a lot of games didn't support that dual analog stick. So it's like we've been playing these newer, we've been playing 4 and 5, and it's like much more dynamic cameras, and it's much more like easy to control, and then now all of a sudden we're stuck with like one stick again and shitty cameras. And I remember that being a big hiccup for me with the franchise, or with that game specifically, of like, feels like we're going back in time. With even though
They
we're
do
on a
fix
handheld.
in those ports, they do fix those issues, but also these games are hard as nails for no reason. These are very difficult, and I don't know why.
Also, I'm being reminded by Sirius in the chat, Resident Evil Revelations was one of the selling points for the accessory on the 3DS, that you could buy a secondary analog stick to use it. That's right. I forgot about that. And then eventually they did the new 3DS. Thanks for keeping me honest, Sirius.
Glad somebody
Also
knows
this
about
year,
because I don't.
Yeah. Not a master of Resident Evil. Also, this year, Resident Evil 6, the game that Blaster Goblin and I are streaming over on Spotlight Games. You control Chris, Leon, Jake, and Ada. Do you control Ada in this game? Is there an Ada campaign that I'm forgetting about?
Yes.
Yeah. As they confront the force behind a worldwide bioterrorist attack, the story is centered around their 4 interwoven campaigns, and every campaign features a unique style in both tone and gameplay. You said something last night, I think, Blaster Goblin, unless I'm making this up, which maybe I am.
I could have. I said
that
a
this
lot
game
of
was
things.
like a bit ahead of its time, and that with the like the tone of all the different campaigns, and that being a very interesting aspect of it, where like Chris's campaign, nothing but action. Leon's a bit more on the horror side. And I don't remember what you said about Jake and Ada's campaigns, but that so far I do, even though we've only been touching the Leon campaign, I do respect that about it. But ultimately, so far, not a fan of 6 in my second playthrough 14 years later. But you seem to be really hot on 6, Blaster Goblin.
I was a 6 apologist from day one. I wanted this game to succeed so bad, and it definitely didn't. I think it tries a lot. It really, really tries to be everything. It wants to be the game. It wants to be the action game. It wants to be the horror game. It wants to be the cool set pieces. It wants to be the slow atmospheric area. And those things can't all blend together. You cannot take all those things and make them one game. It does not work. We've seen that time and time again where people are like, this game is the only game we'll ever need. And it is not, because it doesn't work out. But boy, do I want it to. And I think the combat in this game rocks. I think the shooting, this is the first time they did shooting with movement, and it works fantastic. It feels good. Like, it feels good to play, and the like open melee combat that you just hit the trigger and you start punching, all of that feels great. The controls are, as we learned last night, are garbage. They do not make any sense. To do the dodge roll, to have to like aim down your sights and then hit the dodge button, that is a nightmare, to have to be in aiming to dodge. But it tries a lot, and I really, really love how much it tries.
Yeah. Very bad.
I want it to be better than it is.
Best UI in the series. Cirrus said, "Wow."
It's a bit.
Absolutely.
It's a bit.
This
They're engaging in a bit,
AI
Kayla. Don't believe them.
This AI rips. We don't need the case. We don't
Not
need
the
the little
AI.
like 9 circles.
Not the AI allegations.
Did I say AI? That's fine.
You did.
It looks like it could have been made by AI. There's just like a little clear square in the corner, and that's where all your stuff is, and you can't really tell what any of it means. And then there's just a bunch of grids and lines. It's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet for items, and I love it.
It's so bad, dude. It is one of the worst UIs in a video game I've ever seen in my life. It's so hard to read and sift through.
Sometimes possibly cause you to discard a first aid spray when you have 1 dot of health left in like a horde standoff. It may, but that's your own fault when you do that.
That's hilarious.
But I'll report back on if by the end of the Leon campaign I've changed my mind. If I feel like if I engage in playing more than just the Leon campaign, then Resident Evil 6 has won me over. Let's burn through a couple of these so we can get to talking more about 7. Resident Evil Revelations 2. Oh, you have one more thing, Blaster Goblin?
Is there a reason you skipped over Operation Raccoon City? Do you hate it?
I didn't mean to. I just skipped it.
I think that tells you
but
something.
I do hate it.
I guess.
But I do hate it. What talk to me about Operation Raccoon City?
This game should be talked about more than it is. A what-if story of Resident Evil 2 where you play as Umbrella operatives on your way to kill Leon, and that's like the final boss of the game is Leon. Like you got to kill him. And it's a multiplayer, like nowhere near Resident Evil at all. It shouldn't even have the Resident Evil title. The only thing that is Resident Evil of it is being in Raccoon City with zombies and Leon. Other than that, this is just a nonsense third-person shooter, very like Division-esque or something like that. Like a
that's
cover
what I was
shooter.
gonna say. Like, yeah, like is this trying to be Destiny 2?
It's awesome.
You know,
you get like it's kind of also like a hero shooter. Like you get to pick from a couple different operatives, and each one, like one guy can be invisible, and then there's like a tank guy. It's a rad idea. I like when Resident Evil goes off on these wacky little. I keep saying how much I love the wacky Resident Evil. I like when they do a stupid spinoff that fails in a year. Love that. Those are the best ones.
Mm-hmm. Jake has alerted us of the death, unfortunately, of Eric Dane, who is he's either McSteamy or McDreamy. He's the one that's not Patrick Dempsey, and he's also in Euphoria and a bunch of other stuff. I want to say he had ALS. I think
he did. Yeah, I saw it when I was on the toilet. I didn't want to say anything.
Very sad.
Yeah, bring it down. Today's about
I was
me.
on the toilet.
Yeah. Not today's about Blaster Goblin. Oh boy. That is very sad.
Whenever we're doing a show that someone dies, like
it's
anniversary weekend,
quite frequently lately. Yeah, and I also was on the toilet earlier too. So
nobody else.
I'm just saying, I'm the only one that's not used the bathroom during the show. So
don't go,
Mr. Goblin.
If I go, someone else is going.
Those drinks.
Next thing we know, it'll be Jake in chat, not on Blaster Goblin's big day.
Oh boy. Resident Evil Revelations 2, 2015. We kind of already touched on 2, in that we touched on 1, and I don't know that there's much to add with 2.
This one was episodic.
Oh, that's right.
Like a Telltale release at first, and then
came
out physically later, and like a full package later. That's all there. And Barry's in it again, and I like Barry because he's got a big handgun.
Oh yeah, Barry with the big gun. Big gun Barry.
Yeah, that thing is massive. It's like a U-Haul truck that he just wields and shoots out of.
Damn. Wow.
Jake says, "Computer, summon 40-foot tall Patrick Schweiger with a full bladder above me." I mean, that could happen. 2016, we get Umbrella Corp, which was on the PS4, was a tactical shooter spinoff. I don't even remember this game existing, so I have nothing to add here. But Blaster Goblin played it.
Most people didn't. Basically it was a multiplayer shooter. You're just like it's kind of like Operation Raccoon City, where you're like Umbrella operatives, and this one was like there's just maps that you fight in, like old play, like the village from 4 is one of the maps, and it's like a death match with zombies in it. And then it had this little single player like horde mode. Not a good game. I'm just gonna say that. This one's just not a good game.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Not their best work.
Sure. Well, that does bring us to we touched on 7 a little bit, but I think there's more to say about 7 Biohazard, which releases in 2017 on the PS4, the Xbox One consoles, and also the PC. This is the first time you get to play as Ethan Winters as he searches for his long-missing wife at a derelict plantation occupied by an infected family, solving puzzles and fighting enemies. It diverges from the more action-oriented Resident Evil 5 and 6, returning to the franchise's survival horror roots, emphasizing exploration. It is the first main Resident Evil game to use a first-person view. And for those of us that don't remember, the kitchen demo that got all sorts of coverage during the lead-up to it, there's this survival horror game in the first person called Kitchen, and ended up being Resident Evil 7. And I remember hearing people talk about the kitchen demo and be like, this sounds like the craziest thing I've ever heard of. And then it ended up being Resident Evil, which gave me mixed feelings of like, oh, first person Resident Evil, huh? But then ultimately it won me over because I did like 7. And High School Weekly
Have you
way
played
long
the
ago.
kitchen?
I have not played the kitchen.
Huh?
Is that possible to be played?
It is featured on PlayStation VR demo discs.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can get the kitchen, and that is how I've played it. I've got it back here somewhere on the shelf,
Huh.
the kitchen demo.
I wonder if I have that demo disc because I had PSVR 1.
Yeah, I
and
think I do. I have it linked.
Maybe I
have
did play
somewhere.
it, actually.
It is
I think that's
unsettling.
the only reason. Because I feel like you got some version of it when you bought the game. I feel like there was something, or it could have been that disc I also played it on. Because I played this, but I feel like I played more of the game. I don't remember.
Now,
It's
there
more,
are
I
demo
played
discs
more
with
than
it?
just a kitchen. Huh?
Was it the thing where it was like you're in this like
Like a.
like an atrium, and it's like you look to the right and there's this like shark thing. You look ahead and there's the London thing. Was it in that game on the VR or was it different? Does anybody remember?
I don't know what you're
Oh,
referring to.
I know what you're talking
Okay.
about.
It was a VR
I don't
experience where it was
remember,
like
but I know what
there
you're
was the
talking
shark
about,
tank,
yeah.
the heist, and there was like 3 or 4 other things. I'm wondering if the kitchen was in that, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, then it must not be that Blaster Goblin.
That might be. Are you referring to what the heist was a part of? Is what later became. What's that really good VR game? Blood and Truth.
Yeah, that does
that was
eventually
part
become
of
Blood
that.
and Truth.
I think that was VR Worlds, PlayStation VR Worlds.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what it was.
It's called.
So Kitchen's
That's a
not in
separate
VR
thing.
Worlds? Okay, that's a separate
No,
thing. Got
this
it.
was.
So then
There
maybe
was
I
like a
didn't play the
pack-in demo disc, and then a second like downloadable demo pack, and it
I
was in
see.
one of those.
Well, all of that to say, I did play like an hour or 2 of Resident Evil 7 in VR, and it was the scariest experience of my entire life. And I had a tree fall in my house.
Yeah.
While I was inside, like 5 feet away.
Uh-huh.
So that,
I
like,
didn't
truly,
realize that was at that moment.
game. Oh my god, dude, that game is so
Damn.
fucking scary in VR. You go into the water, and the water is like halfway up your vision in VR. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. This is too realistic.
Come in with
I
like
really
a cup
do
of
not
water
like
and
this.
just throw it
Yeah.
up your nostrils, for immersion.
Yeah.
But I do want to kick to Kayla because Kayla's not really been able to talk about her experience in a long time playing, and she has played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So Kayla, talk to us about Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, this game's scary as hell. I was genuinely like
Scary as
freaked
heck,
out by
even.
this game. And I'm so sorry. Yes, of course, we're very
Yeah.
PG on this podcast. I don't honestly remember a ton of the actual story beats, but this was my first one. So like this was my introduction to the series. I really like this
Wow.
setting. It's in like Louisiana, right? Like that's like
Mhm.
it's like
Uh-huh.
the bayou vibe, which
Yeah.
I really liked. And I thought that like the family, this house that you're going into is so creepy and it's gross. Like it's disgusting.
Marguerite.
Like it is Marguerite. And like it's very immersive. Like that's one of the first things I noticed about, and that I think that's like what makes horror really work for me in games is like it feeling like you're really there. And I personally love the first person. I like that. That's how I prefer my horror is first person. I know, and to me, entering into this game for the first time, it wasn't like a shock for me because I had no prior experience. That this was like the first one. So I love Ethan. I know we talked about Ethan earlier. I just think he's so endearing. Like it's just so he's fumbling around. He's
My
looking for his
man.
wife.
I'm gonna
You
supplement
know?
that thought real quick and give it back to you,
Yeah.
Kayla. But I will say this: I understand from a professional standpoint, Ethan Winters, not the best written character, but I will absolutely say one of my favorite characters just because of how bland he is and just matter of fact and just like what's that? Who's that guy that just goes like this in the memes? You know the guy?
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, what's his
That
name?
guy, that guy.
You
King of
sure about
Queens, Kevin
that?
James.
Thank you. Yes, that
Oh,
guy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
okay.
Ethan Winters. He loses an arm, and he just going on about his day. But that's why I love him so much. I'll give it back to you, Kayla.
I just think it's like somebody I maybe mentioned this in the chat. Maybe I'm missing. Somebody said Paul Blart, which is really funny.
Yeah.
It's like a stand-in kind of character. And I think that's why it works. Like I feel like you could easily replace yourself and be Ethan Winters in the scenario. I feel like he reacts like a really like
yeah.
normal person would, in my opinion. Like I just feel like I am gender bend Ethan Winters. Like
Hashtag
personally.
I am Ethan
And
Winters.
yeah.
God, I wish I
Also,
was.
first time chatter, Hero of Time, welcome in. Said OMG, hi. I was just playing RE8 on stream. We're about to get to RE8.
Let's
No
go.
spoilers. I feel like we didn't really talk about that. Not really any spoilers unless you care about just like general concepts. But yeah, also they mentioned in third person for the first time. Can you switch between on 7 and 8, third or first person?
7,
Now
no,
you
8,
can.
yes, if you get the expansion pack.
Okay.
Oh,
But 7, they never
I was like,
added
I
in
thought you
third
couldn't
person
both.
to 7. I don't think so.
Are you sure?
I
I
wouldn't.
believe
It is
I
not
wouldn't
in
stake
Blaster's
my
over
life
there
on it.
shaking his head. I guess I believe him.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Put that in your notebook.
Thinks he's right about everything.
I know.
I mean, that's a good thing. Yeah.
I've never
Right.
been wrong.
The chat is making me laugh a lot lately. Heroic Hacker said earlier who up eating mold right now, which I thought was very good. And then High Score Weekly referencing or calling back to the Spotlight Game stream yesterday saying, "We are Ethan Winters, we carry the flame," which I thought was also very fucking funny. We carry the flame. I couldn't disagree more with y'all about Ethan. I think he is the most fucking vanilla, boring ass fucking protagonist, and
That's
he
why
is the
he's
reason
so
I don't.
good.
He is the reason I do not care very much for these games compared to the rest of the mainline franchise. Is that I am just so bored by him, and I feel like
it's such a good balance to me.
Well, here's the thing. When I'm playing a game like this, I don't want to be myself or like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be this other
Ethan
character, and I
Winters.
want to experience this fucking character and this arc. And I feel like the arc of Ethan trying to save his wife, I've never not believed a character more in storytelling than any emotion he portrays about his wife. He probably does.
I think he
Lavender
does.
Marriage for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more excited to be moving away from Ethan ultimately.
He's not gone.
No, I don't think so.
I couldn't be
he's
more
back.
upset about moving away from him. I love this dude. Let him be your husk.
Oh,
Just consume yourself
love
into the
that.
back of him like a
Let him be
like a
your
Gundam.
husk.
Open him up and just step inside of Ethan Winters.
That gets me going.
I do though like the thing that you said earlier that like he reacts like the everyman, because I do disagree with that. Like there's like a point where he gets his leg chopped off and then he just like pours some juice on it and he's like,
yeah,
that's
correct.
probably fine. Like insane reaction to that.
And I feel like I like
Capri
that
Sun
part of Ethan. I like how fucking zany the general vibe of the character is. I just feel like the writing and performance, with all due respect, is just so boring for what could be a very fun, like, crazy character. But that's just me.
Yeah.
He's just a freaked out dude. He's just like, oh
he
no,
died, so
I'm scared.
not big spoilers, but man, there's maybe a reason for his, his personality. I won't go into deep spoilers here.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
I know there's some, we kind of touched on this, but isn't there some like ending differences you can get in a couple of these later ones, like where you can get varying endings, or am I making that
There's
up?
like an extended ending, but I think anyone can get that.
7 has 2 paths that you can take.
Okay.
There's a point where you can pick to save one character or the other. That kind of change. Yeah, that changes the ending.
Yeah.
But a lot of the different endings are in the early games. They do a lot of different, like most of them have like 3 endings or so.
I see.
Blaster Goblin, will you touch your fingers to your thumb and keep doing that, please?
Do we
Never
talk
mind.
about the Megamycete in this one, or is that Village? I love saying that. Did I say that
That
right?
would be
For some
that's
reason,
Village.
That would be
for
Village.
some reason, of all the terms in any fucking video game, Megamycete stays with me, and I yell it
Okay.
occasionally in the house.
Okay.
Is that your
Well,
vote,
why don't we
Kristen?
move on from 7
Mhm.
and very briefly touch on Resistance in 2020, which was an add-on mode for Resident Evil 3 Remake. This
I never
was a
touched it.
four survivor players competing against a mastermind player who can create traps, enemies, and other hazards. Resistance is set during the Raccoon City outbreak and features characters from 2, 3, 5, and Revelations 2, though it is non-canon. Blaster Goblin, what you know about Resistance?
I was a terror in Resistance for the total of
Yeah?
the week that it had players. Me and the baseball bat just wrecking these guys that were trying to send units at me. Yeah, that's one of those games where you send out units. Like it's an asymmetrical multiplayer, so they're like, I'll send out a zombie or two, and just me and a baseball bat. What's a baseball bat character? Steve Harrington style, just walking through there,
Mm.
cracking
Hey.
Okay.
dingers all day long
Sure.
for that week
Whoa.
that it
The
was relevant,
dingers.
and
I'm gonna
I
start saying
loved it.
that. Cracking some, sending out my units and cracking dingers. That's what we do here.
Yes,
I drop in,
that's
drop
exactly
out.
right. Any dingers in chat? In 2021, we briefly touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about it some more. Resident Evil 8 Village. The cheeky VIII with Village, very good. You again control Ethan Winters, who searches for his kidnapped daughter in a mysterious village filled with mutant creatures. Village maintains survival horror elements from previous games, with players scavenging environments for items and managing resources while adding more action-oriented gameplay with higher enemy counts and a greater emphasis on combat. I liked the first like 2/3 of Village, and then I really kind of didn't care for the final act of Village
Man,
personally.
they sort of gave us whiplash with what to expect from this world, huh? Because like it
Yeah.
opened up a lot more than just the castle, and I
Yeah.
think I thought, Mama D was gonna be the big baddie.
Yeah.
Ends up
Yeah.
being that's just the first few hours of the game.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah, I agree.
Village would be one of my favorite Resident Evil games if it stuck to what they marketed the game as the whole game. But it ends up just going into all these other things that it's like the thing I was kind of alluding to earlier, that y'all seem to mostly like at like a high level of it just goes fucking nuts. Whereas with 8, I was like, man, if you guys could have just held the plot and stayed in line with it, this could have been an all fucking timer. And yeah, Hero of Time, just to be careful, maybe mute it for a second while we talk about Village. I don't want to ruin your experience.
Yeah.
I was
Just in
I feel
case.
like I feel like definitely the different biomes, like I think it just spread out and you went to like 3 different amusement parks, I feel like. And I think
Yeah.
that took out some of it for me. If anything, I mean, I still enjoyed it. It was just a lot of game. But I do agree with like, hey, I think they did try to do a little bit too much. A lot of different themes in this game and just like
Yeah.
environments. And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in Vampire City, but now I'm over here in this creepy swamp with this gross ass thing that looks like it's about to explode pus everywhere. I don't know. It was different. And that poor baby, his daughter, went through a lot.
Sure.
I was really confused
Oh,
about like
They split her up and they put her in a bunch of jars.
went
yeah.
through a lot. Megamycete.
That's the most insane thing in Resident Evil is when they're like, your baby's fine, but she's split into multiple pieces in multiple jars.
You're right, exactly.
That was rough. Yeah.
Like
Monster
that is hands down
ruled.
the wackiest. Code Veronica has a mouse that writes journals. This is crazier than that they put babies in
Whoa.
jars. That's
That's
That
crazy.
is the peak.
Village does have one of my favorite sequences in all of Resident Evil, though, in the
Same.
the kid's house vibe, with the baby,
good.
the big baby is so fucking good and so creepy. But yeah, I ended up I've not replayed it at all, but at some point, so I realize now, yeah, Hero of Time is doing a replay in third person. At some point, I do want to play through it in third person because I definitely very much prefer third person to first person. I don't love the first person Resident Evil vibe. I just 9 times out of
The
10,
last-
I'm going to choose third person over first person in general in games.
I just remember
I'm the
like
opposite,
running
yeah.
out of steam, like literally for that last section for the last boss. the guy with the hammer. Can't remember
Yeah,
his
yeah.
name, but
Yeah.
I was just like, this
Heisenberg.
is yeah, yeah. He was just the whole factory scene. Just like I was just like, I am so tired. I'm so tired. I love this experience, but I'm like, it needs to wrap up, and there's just too much to this part of the map at this
Yeah.
point. So
I think what happened with Village is that they were going for the Resident Evil 4 of the village location, the castle location, and then the island that's like pretty action heavy. Like a lot of
Yeah.
there's like machine guns and helicopters, and it gets pretty off the rails there. And I think that's what they were going for, but they just took it a little too far off the rails, and they couldn't get it back on the track after that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's with Chris being in that game, maybe there's something about if Chris is in the game, it must get fucking crazy because it seems to be other than like
Yeah.
one. That's kind of the case in every Chris game. It seems is that it always gets fucking nuts, whether he's punching a boulder or it has a mouse that speaks in a journal apparently. So, but I do like Village. I just wish
yeah.
I
was
just have
it.
some notes.
I-
That's good.
Kayla?
This is in my like top 15 of all time.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I'm delayed. I don't know. I think something happened.
You were a
Maybe.
little delayed, but I think you're
Can you
getting
hear
back
me?
on track. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm definitely a vibes video game player. And typically I do go for like a impactful story. And I feel like, I don't know, this one to me, like, even though it's a pretty like straightforward premise overall, like a man searching for his kid, I really like, and me and Jerica have talked at length at this. I love the character design in this game, like the way that every single character that you interact with, even if it is just temporary. That's my gripe for sure with this game is like we all have talked about, like not staying at the castle for long enough and like not staying in that environment with those characters. But I don't know, something about the overall environments, the characters you interact with, the story, like it all just really clicked for me, and it was terrifying in a way that I found like super engaging.
Yeah.
And yeah, the boss fights were tough. The puzzles were tough. I feel like this one was really difficult for me personally, but I don't know, something about that I really liked. It felt very satisfying when you would clear a section or like when you would pass through a boss. Like it was very satisfying to me. So yeah, I don't know. And it was my first, like I have played 7, but like it was my first, like this felt like my first like big Resident Evil game. I don't know why 7 just felt a little bit different.
Sure.
But I loved it.
Man, I forgot how spooky like the dungeons of the castle are when there's like
Yeah.
no light. For sure. That's a
Yeah.
standout section of Village for sure.
that was a
It is,
demo.
for
That
sure.
was the demo experience for this game. I remember now. Was just
Oh,
like
yeah.
the dungeon. That was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played the
since you mentioned
demo.
demos, can we roll back to 7 for a minute?
Yeah.
Because the non-VR, the regular 7 demo that had like 3 versions was my version of PT because I didn't have a PlayStation when PT came out.
Ooh.
And it also had a little thing where they were like, what's the mystery here? And you had to figure out what the dummy finger did. And I was in the forums
That's
trying
cool.
to figure out what to do with the dummy finger. And then they updated it like over time and started adding more to the demo. And then eventually the demo was its own thing that when you finished it, gave you a coin to use in the full game. And I really that demo was like
Oh, that's
such
cool.
That's neat.
like an important
Aw.
part in my
I don't think I played
I
that
have
demo.
like such a like important memories of that, doing that,
Yeah.
digging in the
Core
forums.
memory.
That's fun.
That's fun.
And then thinking, damn, I wish I had PT.
Sure. Yeah. God, fucking PT was so good. I'm very sad. The PS4 that I had that on, I had put in a 2 terabyte hard drive, and pretty shortly after that was when PT you couldn't download it anymore, and I like missed the memo, and so I was like, fuck, I should be able to have PT on this PS4, but I didn't get it back in time, and so I don't have a hard drive with PT on it, even though I still have that PS4, which is very sad.
I know. It sucks.
Yeah, we moved to 2022 with Reverse. This was another additional mode to Village. It was an online multiplayer third-person shooter. It was supposed to be at launch, but was delayed into the following year.
A long time.
A very long time. It like I think it was more than a year after the original launch was when Reverse finally came out, and I feel like it came out to pretty big crickets when it finally did come out.
I don't
Except
even
for
know
this
this was a
guy.
thing.
This game rocks. This
Really?
one I was in as much as what was the other one? I forgot the name. Resistance. This is like Resistance.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay.
For the like 3 weeks this was popular. I was Leon, that cell shaded Leon running through the RPD, just wrecking people.
Yeah.
This game was awesome and it was way underrated. And I think more people would have genuinely liked playing this game because it was just a super fun multiplayer shooter with a Resident Evil skin on it.
Woof. Well, that sucks. But
Rest in peace, because I think
Rest
they
in
shut
peace.
it down a while
yeah,
ago.
they did. They did.
My granny, she was sit by a
Um,
bazooka.
Think about it every time I hit the hookah. Well, that brings us, because we're skipping the remakes, because we already talked about it. That brings us to next week, Kayla. Resident Evil Requiem will come out. So I'm so excited for this game, and we're going to be covering it on JK Games Podcast, Video Game Book Club. Do you know how many weeks yet that you're going to be covering it
Sure.
on the podcast?
We
I think there's at
project
least 3 or 4.
3 or
We
4?
projected 3.
Okay.
But we are leaving room for potentially 4 because you never really know. I mean, we based it off of actually no, we projected for 4 because the next week is another special release that we are going to be covering.
So many games.
Oh, we projected for 4. Yeah, Patrick.
Which game?
Yeah.
Oh no, he said
I'm sure I can look at a calendar
Life is
and figure out what
Strange.
game you're talking about. Oh,
a
Life is Strange.
franchise.
Life
Oh
is
yeah,
Strange.
yeah.
Reunion,
it is.
yeah.
Kaboom, kablow. Yeah, I'm so excited for Requiem, and I do feel like this could, I don't know, like, do we think that it's going to actually hit like 9s and shit like that, or do we think it's going to fall
I
into that
think
like
it-
low 80s?
I think it'd be high 80s, possibly
Yeah.
low 90s. I think they're doing I think they've learned from the last couple of games like what works, what doesn't, and bringing back like a fan favorite. I think they would make sure to land on what people want from the franchise most. And I'm just excited to see like a character like Grace be able to play with her and
Yeah.
really be under like not being able to swing this massive chainsaw, you know? Like I
Sure.
want to feel scared, and I'm really excited just to see how that dynamic feels between Leon and her going back and forth. And I love, you know, and two, like you get to sort of, not that you pick a character, but I do like the idea of being able to go back and forth between characters like that. I think it'd be really fun. And I liked that specific aspect of 2 remake.
Yeah. Do we think, because we're going to have the choice to play first person or third person, Kayla, are you going to go first person the whole time?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm that's just like my personal default
Me
like
too.
gaming experience. And so I think I want to play in where I feel like I can perform the best, which is first person. So I think I'm going to try to do it that way. I forget. Is there difficulty settings on RE?
Yeah, there will be
Yeah.
difficulty settings for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I usually play middle of the road.
Yeah.
Personally.
But
yeah, I'm super excited for this. I think like I haven't honestly. Have you guys like watched everything? I kind of stopped
everything.
watching stuff.
I did.
Yeah.
I stopped. Yeah.
I
watched
wish-
the, like,
yeah, that
obviously
trailer
the
they showed
initial
during
trailer,
State
the
of
second
Play.
trailer.
It's like, I don't want to see this. You're showing me too much.
I actually, yeah.
I didn't watch it.
Mm-mm.
I skipped it. I don't like to
Blaster
see
Goblin,
too much.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred with this upcoming game? Third person, third person?
Most certainly
Third person, I said.
Third person, whatever one it is.
like having a
I'll be
third.
doing that. I may do. I see what Hiroka here said. Third person for Leon, first person for Grace. That may be something I dabble in. I would really like if it's one of those things where you can swap between them on the fly, and I have not paid attention
hope
because I've kind of been
so.
keeping myself slightly in the dark on it because I don't want to know.
Yeah.
What's all
Who
going
up there-
on.
who
I mean,
out
I keep
here
seeing the
switching their
memes.
persons? Like instantly. It's me.
1-1-1-1-1.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if I can switch it easily, I might go back and forth between first and third with the whole like Grace being horror, Leon being action, which I think is a fun concept to like in the game have 2 different vibes simultaneously. But if I have to go like to the menu and the settings and shit, I'm just doing third person the whole time for sure.
Oh, it's third person all the way.
Yeah.
But I would love to play it like the Halo 1 remaster, you know, where you like the entire time you're like
Yeah.
switching between the graphics every 4
Mhm.
minutes. You're like,
That'd
what
be
did it
cool.
look like?
Right,
That's what
right,
I want
right.
to
Yeah.
Exactly.
This
That's
ruins
mean,
the
maybe.
entire flow of gameplay.
Maybe they will
We'll
do
Shoot,
that.
it might. I love saying, shoot, it might.
Shoot.
You
might.
never know. Shoot,
It
it
might.
might.
Here's the deal. If they let us do that, I'm gonna have a good time, Jericho.
Oh
Shoot.
yeah. I'm sure we'll be streaming it somewhere at some point on some channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
In the
considering
biosphere.
after 6 continuing it on Spotlight, but since I can't normally stream more than once a week, I don't want to wait a week
That's
in
fair.
between each session. So I don't think I'm going to stream it. Maybe I'll
Hey, there's
stream
no
like
rules. You can.
a second version of the playthrough,
Yeah.
perhaps, potentially as well, but I don't know.
Mm.
We'll see. What else? Any other thoughts about Resident Evil? I know we've run quite long, so we can start wrapping up. Any other what have we
Yeah.
missed, Kayla?
I mean, for me, nothing. I feel like I got to see my piece in all things, except I know like there are some movies. Is that right? Like I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah.
any of the movies. I know we briefly talked about the animated stuff Blaster Goblin did, but
Don't
and
get
I know
me
like we
started. Love Mila Jovovich. Oh my god. Give me
That's so good.
more.
Jericho, was there anything else from the community that we didn't include in the breakdown of this episode?
Yeah, let's see. I got Friendship wanted to share that. I thought this was funny. Let's see. I remember seeing videos and screenshots of Resident Evil for the PlayStation 1 and thinking, this looks like a movie. I started with Resident Evil 1 on the GameCube because the movie scared the shit out of me, speaking of the movie, but I needed to see where it all began. Spoiler alert, very different takes on the Resident Evil franchise, lol. I probably only put a few hours into it before getting too scared and returning to Blockbuster a week later. I lied to my parents that I beat it as not to let them think it was a waste of their money for the rental fee. So
That's
Aw.
very good.
And then
That's
David
cute.
wanted to chime in on, okay, let's see. Resident Evil 1 Remake will always be the top for me. I love Resident Evil 7 for bringing us back to the horrific, campy, puzzle-focused roots. With the movie, talking about the movies, really excited for the Kreger admittedly loose adaptation coming out, but it makes me wonder, how could Resident Evil fans ever get a movie that truly satisfies, as the most precious part of the games are the most eccentric set pieces, puzzles, inventory management, backtracking. That is impossible to translate into an enjoyable movie experience. So,
We already got the perfect Resident Evil movie, and it was Welcome to Raccoon
oh,
City. What a
there you
masterpiece.
there you go.
There you go.
And also
well,
all the ones
that's-
Mila Jovovich. Excellent films.
Sure. Well, I do believe that is actually everything that could ever be said about Resident Evil as a franchise, as an IP.
We
I think
could
this is
say
the
Mega
definitive.
Micey one more time.
I think so. Go ahead.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mega Micey.
We did it. We fucking did it, y'all.
Okay.
Close it with your merchant voice.
Oh. Mega Micey.
W.
That's not very good.
Oh, yeah.
W chat for chilling with us this long.
Yes.
A pop in
Yeah.
chat. I do fear. And
For
we
sure.
will be back very soon, very, very soon, with more of this sweet, sweet content for you. Like I said at the top of the show, or like 30 minutes into the show, JK Games continuing the Reanimal video game book club this coming Monday, and myself and the Blaster Goblin continuing our Resident Evil 6 playthrough on Wednesday on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod. And of course, at some point within the next week, myself and Cog will be releasing the first drop in, drop out video essay about non-linearity and storytelling in video games, which is going to be the best piece of content that you've ever seen in your entire life. Blaster Goblin, one more time, tell the folks at home where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me anywhere. If you just type Blaster Goblin into Google, my face shows up. You can find me anywhere.
Yeah.
The YouTubes, the Instagram, the TikToks, the .coms. I'm everywhere, and I got a whole bunch of stuff coming.
Hell yeah.
He's also in your
Jerica,
bed.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's true.
we didn't properly get to address that last moment with the notebook, and I apologize for that.
No, I did. I was just touching it. I've been petting it
Great.
the whole time.
Good. Very good. I love that.
Sensory thing for me. I enjoy having it around. Now it's got my favorite notes about Blaster Goblin in there.
I'm so excited to not be
dirty.
playing nice with you anymore after this is over.
Oh, it's gonna be
Let's go to
a
war,
beautiful
I've
thing.
sent angry
bitch.
emails this week. I'm working behind the scenes.
Send me
Um,
those angry emails. I want angry emails from you. Blaster.
Also,
Facts
I'm trying to
too.
very
rip your life
exciting.
from the inside out.
Very exciting to unveil the exclusive that Sirius Shard is starting a rival podcast, Pop In, Pop Out. And Heroic Headgear will be the first guest, in which apparently they dog on me, but also fawn on me, according to Sirius Shard. So any excuse for y'all to talk about me, I'll promote. So that's an easy way to get marketing on our show. And also, Hero of Time, thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it. Well, we will be back soon. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Go to dropinDropoutPod.com. Buy a shirt if you want. Follow along on all of our endeavors across the internet. And of course, give Blaster Goblin a follow. He streams on Twitch. He streams on YouTube. And if you're nice to him, maybe he'll stream in your living room. All right, y'all.
Wow.
I think that's it. Until next time, let's go raid Virum Dex, who is playing something.
Oh, yeah.
But until then, bye-bye.